This week, see?
We review director Bong Joon-ho's latest film, Mickey 17, and the hit Apple TV Plus series, Severance.
And we discuss the upcoming seasons of The Last of Us on HBO and God of War on Amazon Prime Video.
While also examining Apple's operating loss for their streaming service, Apple TV Plus.
My name is Simon Eady.
And I'm Adrian Pinter.
Welcome to Split Focus, a film and TV podcast, episode 106.
That was good. I love the pizzazz.
Hardly good. Good is not the word I would use.
I love the pizzazz. You got some pizzazz, man. Anyone ever tell you that?
I like how you're like very sleepy and I'm the opposite. We're like the 1920s and you're from, I don't know, 1950s radio. No, man, probably like 1990s radio, you know?
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
Talk radio, man?
Yeah.
So boring.
Well, you're not like talk radio. Like you're like the introduction of the jazz channel. You're like,
oh,
this is, you know, you're like ASMRing it. Like,
this is Jazz Channel.
This is Jazzy Man 50. Oh, that's a terrible name for an artist. Never mind.
Yeah, here, okay. This is Jazzy Man 60, much better name, playing jazz time.
Uh-huh. That's kind of horrible. But okay. Alrighty. Well, that's it then. I guess we're going to cancel the recording.
Yeah, I guess we'll just go into the regular show at this point then, eh?
What?
We're just going to go... This is going to lead into the regular show.
This isn't the show?
Yeah, this is leading into the regular show right now.
How is it leading in? Like I didn't introduce. That would mean I would have to say welcome. Wait, did the intro go yet? Did we get to the part where the music plays? Like the music cue?
Like right now.
Like it's right. Oh, okay. All right. Oh, Adrian! It's episode 106.
Jesus
Hello?
Christ. Hey,
How are you?
I'm well, dude. How are you?
Oh, I'm very good.
I'm glad to hear that, buddy. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Looks like you're in a chipper mood, and I love seeing you happy, man.
I'm in bad shape.
Oh. Why? What happened? What's wrong, dude?
I don't know, man. I've just got a lot of anxiety. The world is in a bad way right now, I feel like, but I'm just in a really exhausted state ever since daylight savings time or daylight, whatever the regular thing is when we go back to time that's normal. It's just been tough. It's been tough since that happened because I did my trip and then the daylight savings time day thing happened and I'm just exhausted. I'm very tired. I'm not getting enough sleep. I got a lot of work, like just random events that keep being thrown in my lap that I have to host in my job. And so it's just a lot. This is a lot. And anxiety just piles up, you know? And anyway, yeah, that's my sob story.
Oh man.
That was at the end of episode 106. Thanks for joining us, folks. And
goodbye.
That's it. That was the episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope you all have worse anxiety than Simon.
Yeah, no. Yeah, we're obviously not ending it here. We didn't even talk about film and TV for 1 second. Not even 1 second, Adrian, did we talk about film and TV. But I will say this about daylight savings time.
Tell me.
It's bullshit. It's bullshit. And I think everyone believes it's bullshit. I think you think it's garbage too. Am I wrong about that?
I don't like it. I don't like it
either. And let me say this about it.
Okay.
Why is it, okay, let's just say we keep daylight savings time. Let's say we're dedicated to it. This stupid practice that literally causes car accidents because people are exhausted. Okay. There's literally an uptick. You can look it up. Statistics.
Stats. I've heard of them.
Worldstatistics.com.
Yes.
I don't think that's the thing. But regardless of that, there are statistics you can check and it is true. Regardless of that, my point is, why the hell does it change at 2 a.m. in the morning? Here's my compromise. You don't want to change daylight savings time? Fine. You don't want to get rid of it? Fine. It should be 1 p.m. on a Monday. God damn it. That's what I vote for. 1 p.m. on Monday afternoon.
Mhm.
Then we're like, oh, wow, look at that. We just went forward an hour. The only problem is if we're going back an hour, it's not as good. You know what? Actually, back an hour, we're going to put it on Sunday at 2 a.m. But we're going forward an hour. If we're springing forward, as they say, we do it at 1 p.m. on Monday. And then we're at 2 p.m. suddenly. And we're like, oh, wow, we actually got a benefit here.
Mm.
You get what I'm saying?
I see where you're coming from.
You know?
I get it. I feel like that's too complicated and we should just abolish it entirely. But the real question, Simon, is...
That's too complicated for people. I feel like my thing is at least a compromise. They want it still, so let's just do it at 1 p.m. for that one part of it. Just have that one part of it.
Whomst wants
the fall back part, the full back, we can do that on Sunday. That's beautiful. I get that hour extra of sleep. I'm like, oh, this is the greatest thing ever. But the spring forward, that's unacceptable. We have to do that on Monday at 1 p.m. We all get an extra, we call it a vacation hour. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that's too left wing for some folks. But anyway.
Oh, dude. Yeah, that's way too left wing, bro. Imagine giving someone just a little bit extra money that isn't a billionaire. Imagine that. That's fucking nuts, dude.
It's great. That's woke, man. That's woke. Is what that is.
Yeah.
Lost all meaning.
Welcome to Split Focus, a woken TV podcast. But no, genuine question. So I'm gonna stick with my point. Is I think your route is way too complicated, and we shouldn't do that.
No, it isn't. It's just one little change.
Keep it. We should just keep the time set at a specific time.
Well, but obviously, that's the better.
Would you prefer the fall back time or the spring forward time? Because I know what I would prefer. I'd prefer this time, spring forward time.
100%.
This is the best time.
Yes. Correct.
Okay, we're on the same page. Cool.
Yes.
So let's not overcomplicate things. Let's not spring
But they are
forward
overcomplicating it. They're not doing it.
Yeah.
So if you want it so badly, it's not that complicated to just make the spring forward part on Monday at 1 p.m. That's all I'm saying.
That's the only change you want.
No, I want what you said, but they won't do it. They voted it in various places. I think they voted it in Congress in the United States. We don't live in the US, we live in Canada. But in Canada, in some provinces, they're like, we will do this if they change it. And then they just never end up doing it. It's absurd. I think the vote was in BC or something. Like, we'll do it if the federal government decides to do it. It's like, well, yeah, no shit. Obviously. You're not going to be a random 1 hour difference. Well, I guess they could. Do that. I don't know if that would be federally allowed, though. I'm not sure. Who knows?
I don't know. Is
Canada.
time under federal jurisdiction or provincial, or is that municipal? That's a real question. Education,
not municipal.
That's provincial. Education, healthcare, that's provincial here in Canada. Time,
right? Yeah.
What is time? Where is time in the grand scheme of Canadian politics? We got another election coming up.
We do, April 28th. We're not a political podcast, though, so let's not get too much into that,
Yeah.
Oh,
are you excited
to my
to vote?
Desk.
Do you love voting, Simon?
Noise. Do I love voting? No,
Yeah,
I don't love voting, but I'm going to vote 100%. It's a duty that I will do.
Nice. I like that, dude. Yeah. I love voting. It's one of my favorite things to do. Sometimes I go online just to look for polls to vote on, just for the sake of it.
You're a liar.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, gamefacts.com, GAMEFAQS.com.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I used to go there every single day as a kid, every day. Looking at like the forums and stuff. But I don't know if you remember this. They would always have a poll of the day. And that was one of the reasons why I logged on to GameFacts.com every day as a kid, so I could vote in that poll. Because I wanted my voice to be heard, Simon, in this poll.
Wow.
On the internet.
Oh, well, now you're an adult, and now you can vote for governments. So congratulations. Yeah. Your dreams can come true, folks.
It's amazing, dude. I made it.
It's incredible.
I made it to an age.
Just any age? Oh, you're not going to say your age.
I did at some point.
You don't want to get too personal.
No.
All right, Adrian. Last week, we talked about the Oscars. I don't know if you remember. Oh, no, it wasn't last week.
2 weeks.
You couldn't have remembered that because we didn't do it 2 weeks ago, because this episode, much like every episode of our show, airs every 2 weeks on Tuesdays because it's a bi-weekly podcast. So we talked about the Oscars, and I was looking up some things. I just saw some headlines, and I saw that Bill Maher claimed that Emilia Perez didn't win Best Picture due to cancel culture. And I thought that was interesting because there was like Carlos Sevilla Garcon posted some like controversial tweets, whatever, yada yada yada. Anyway, but he said that it lost them the Oscars race. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because I believe that there are other people who think this, and I'm here to say there's no way Emilia Perez would have won with bad tweets or not. That's my hot take. But yeah, I don't know if you agree or not. What's
I never watched the movie.
Like, you look alarmed.
Well, I was like looking this up. I'm like, Bill Maher. I'm so confused because isn't Bill Maher like? He's kind of annoying whenever I listen to him. But like, isn't he like traditionally talking smack about like left-wing people and everything like that?
He's kind of center.
Yeah, I guess he does talk a lot of shit about the right as well. But I don't know. I never watched the movie. So at the end of the day, I'll take your word on it. From everything I heard online, doesn't seem like a particularly great movie. But again, you said that is pretty good. From the movies I watched, that is on that list. Yeah, Nora was phenomenal. So,
right. Anyway, I have a hot take that's coming up, like a more
please give me
take.
The hottest.
So this is why I brought this up. But anyway, his quote was, I looked at you and you looked very confused, so I paused. Anyway, regardless, he said, quote, and this movie that was going to win it all, it was the front runner, and she was going to get it all, as in Sofia Garcon, the actor in the movie. Yeah. Suddenly was out to lunch. And good news for Honora, that's what happened. So yes, cancel culture is still with us. It may just be a little more subtle.
Interesting. It's kind of interesting because Bill Burr, has recently come out. He was talking. Bill Burr is on like a hot streak right now, just talking shit about everyone, and a couple people in particular. But again, we're not a political podcast. Who am I to say? But it's funny because he literally like even called out. He's like, hey, like left-wing people, like why isn't there cancel culture anymore for, Elon Musk doing a Nazi salute? So like Bill Burr is saying essentially the opposite of Bill Maher.
But they did it. They did try to cancel. They did try to cancel him for 5 seconds and then they gave up.
Elon Musk?
Yeah, they did do it.
Yeah.
They're just shitty at it. It's just like, it's almost like they do it too much. And so therefore now it doesn't hold any weight. But how do you cancel a billionaire? You literally can't. And no offense, but they're literally burning Teslas and writing Heil Hitler on the windows of the Tesla dealerships. You know?
What a crazy time we live in.
Yeah, they're I think people are upset about it. Yeah. Actually, in a bad way. Like, don't burn down Tesla dealerships or whatever. Like that's really bad. I don't agree with what Elon Musk is doing, but don't do that. You know what I mean? That's ridiculous. That's a worse response than canceling someone. But he also can't be canceled. If you have that much money, you can't be canceled. So as much as I love Bill Burr, I don't necessarily agree with this sentiment.
Fair enough.
Because I agree with him, but I also think that they've worn out their situation because they've done it so much. Maybe that's perhaps what happened. But regardless of that, I like Bill Burr. He's awesome.
He's great.
Yeah,
he has
much more than I like
special.
Bill Maher as an example.
But yeah, I'm in the same boat. Bill Burr actually has a new special
on Hulu. Yeah, it's on Hulu.
Yeah, which is on Disney Plus Star here, which is crazy because his last specials were all on Netflix. So I got to get around and watch that.
Yeah, me too. Anyway, here's my theory I was going to say, okay?
Spit it out.
Here's my theory. I'm going to get there. So Emilia Perez, I watched it. I liked it. It was good. That movie is way too far off the beaten path for it to have won. And this is my theory about Best Picture, which I feel like people don't believe. And I don't understand why they don't believe it. And that's kind of where I'm getting to. So people believe that Best Picture is these obscure movies that nobody has heard of. Do you find that people think that? Because I think that people think that. And I feel like that was a little bit more or not movies
like
maybe
years
it's
ago.
Also just movies that people, not just that they haven't heard of, that they just nobody watches or not entertaining. They're not entertaining movies. They're art house films that are all artsy fartsy. And those are the movies that win. That's what the belief is. I believe largely is what people think.
I think that was true, like more so before than now. Personally, I think kind of things changed with like Everything Everywhere All at Once. That winning Best Picture.
Okay, in 2003, The Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King won.
Yeah.
Okay, 2003 was that before Everything Everywhere All at Once?
No, actually, that came after,
but
or before. Depends on how you look
also
at
don't
time.
agree with that like Everything Everywhere All at Once statement. I don't. Slumdog Millionaire is an incredibly accessible film. That one as well. Like movies that are really good movies that are well built and well designed and are also entertaining, or actually, in my opinion, if you look at the winners over the last 20 years or so, probably a lot longer, those are the movies that typically win Best Picture when they have all of those elements that work together. If you look at the winners in the last little bit, just look at the last 5 years as an example. There's only one instance of a movie that won that I was like, wow, this is an okay movie and this is really artsy fartsy. You might be able to guess which movie that is.
I can't because I can't think.
Nomadland. That movie was specifically quite slow and like it's fine. But Parasite winning as an example, also a pretty entertaining movie as an example. Like if you look at even 20, like now for nominees, that's different. I thought there was probably no chance The Brutalist would win as an example. I haven't seen it yet. I look to see it in the future, but it did. Being a 3.5 hour movie also makes it less accessible. The more accessible movie, the more entertaining movie, combined with the aspect of art house or really well designed aspects of it, amazing editing, amazing directing, really great acting. When you combine all of that together, that is what's more likely to win. And that is my theory. Pretty much, I think going from now on, as I think about it, when Coda won as an example, people were shocked that Coda won. I was not. Before the Oscars aired, Coda was for me a 5 out of 5. I don't rate that many movies a 5 out of 5, but on my own scale, it was a 5 out of 5. I thought it was really heartfelt and really emotional and really well built through and through. And so I thought that the movie was great. Anora was the same way. Anora is the only movie I thought was a 5 out of 5 from last year. And so for me, that would have been the movie that would win. The Brutalist, everything I saw about it looks technically incredible from every technical aspect, but it doesn't look more entertaining than Anora. And I just, for me, that it does matter. And people think that may not factor in. I think the voters do care about that. And that's my diatribe over. That's my Best Picture theory.
Interesting. So I feel like we're both in agreement then.
Yeah. Do you think that largely like people believe that? Maybe you and I believe it, but I don't think that if you talk to the average person, people think the Oscars aren't relevant. And I find that really not true. Actually, I think the Oscars hit the nail on the head typically. Sometimes things get snubbed in the nominees department for Best Picture. But like, for instance, I think Avengers Endgame should have been nominated for Best Picture, but not win, as an example.
Yeah.
Because there's 10 films nominated, and that was a friggin' culmination of like 10 years of like an industry changing thing.
Yeah.
Which I think deserved recognition. But like, I don't know. If you look at the list, it's remarkable. Like people just I don't think they believe it though. The last movie that was before, Nomadland, it was kind of really art house that won was Moonlight, which almost didn't win by accident. But anyway, that's a whole different
that was
story.
a La La Land year.
Right. Well, La La Land could have won, in my opinion. I love La La Land.
Me too.
I love Moonlight too, but it's it's like Nomadland in a large way. But anyway, yeah, I just wanted to get that out there. So when he said my point, I brought that up because Bill Maher's saying that. I'm like, I don't think Bill Maher knows anything about movies. That was kind of the way I looked at it, because this year's contenders were really, really like hot. Like there were some really great movies, and Emilia Perez, in my opinion, had no chance in winning at all. Like it's too far off the beaten path in so many ways. It does a lot of wacky things. Some of the songs are just kind of fine. It's a good movie though.
Into a
genuinely,
vagina.
Right? That's a line in it. The movie is genuinely good. I think it's great, and I think that Zoe Saldana is amazing in it, and so is like Carlos Sofia Garzón does a great job. I just don't think that if you look at the contenders, that there is any chance. Also, if you look at the contenders when Nomadland was nominated, you can see why Nomadland won, because the contenders, that was 2021. and what happened the year before.
I heard about what happened the year before, actually.
Yeah. So they didn't have that. They had some great movies in there, but there's a lot of, I feel like, sad movies in there. That year was very dire. If you look at the contenders nominees, you're like, whoa, that's a that's a year. But Gladiator won Best Picture, Adrian. Also a very entertaining movie.
I watched the first Gladiator movie not too long ago.
Oh yeah?
For the first time.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Oh, you don't like it?
I thought it was fine. I don't dislike it.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought it was fine.
Like it's like a 6 or something out of 10. But yeah. I don't know.
I think that's fair.
Oh, yeah. That's low. Okay. Sure. All right.
Yeah, I'm looking at the 2021 Sound of Metal. Yeah, that was pretty depressing.
Good, but sad. Like really sad.
Minari.
I really like.
Very sad.
Very sad. Like it's
Promising Young Woman.
Very good, but on it, I
also
don't know.
Kind of sad.
Very sad, but also I don't know that it was as good as Nomadland. That's what I'm saying. Like on a whole, like if you take it, actually for me it was better. Actually, so
I agree. Honestly, looking at because I watched Sound of Metal, I watched Mank, which I didn't like. I watched Minari. I watched Promising Young Woman. I watched The Trial of the Chicago 7 and Nomadland. And out of all those movies, apart from Mank, I would say like I probably liked Nomadland the least. In hindsight.
The least. Oh wow.
I love Trial of Chicago 7. I thought that movie was stellar. Promising Young Woman, in my opinion, was the best movie of that year.
Yeah,
Minari was stellar as well. Very sad though. I didn't watch The Father because I was like, that seems way too fucking depressing, dude. The whole dementia thing.
Yeah, it is sad.
But that's a good list, actually. I forgot about 2021. I forgot that year ever happened. What a time.
Sure.
But no, I think you make a good point, Simon. I think you make a good point. And I agree with you.
Yeah. I just wanted to throw that out there also because we named the last episode Fuck the Oscars. And I actually do like the Oscars. We only named it that for a specific reason that I'm not going to say here because you obviously didn't listen to the episode. If you as an example, my brother just sent me a message. He's like, you give me like a little like, eyebrow up face. Like, why'd you name it that? And it's like, why don't you listen to it, I guess, if you care? Because it's strange. That episode of our podcast is the least watched episode probably in the history of the podcast of all 105 episodes.
Damn.
Especially on YouTube. It's just not watched at all. And I think it's the algorithm hit us hard because they didn't like the swear. Although the swear has little asterisks in it. Apparently that's not acceptable. They did not like that. So like it's very, very like it was completely buried by the algorithm, I think. But what do I care,
I don't know. What do you care?
But that's it. That's all I was gonna say. I guess we can move on to the quick bite news, Adrian. If you
actually, Simon, before we move on, I have a little correction. I have a little correction of last episode because Daredevil Born Again has been born again. It's been brought to the Disney Plus streaming service, and we were talking a bit about it and how I think it was supposed to be 18 episodes originally. And when we talked about it last episode, we brought that up. What we didn't know at that time was during all the reshoots and the reworking of that first season, they cut it down to only 9 episodes. And then have a second season that's, I think, already in production. That's going to be, I assume, maybe another 9. I don't know that for a fact. So it is one thing to point out and to correct. And I believe, looking at its release schedule, it's going to end just before Andor comes out. Because I don't think they want any crossover. So
interesting.
And Andor, they're doing 3-episode chunks. So 3 episodes, 3 episodes, 3 episodes, 3 episodes for a total of 12 episodes over the course of 4 weeks.
Wow, that's awesome. That's much preferred from my perspective anyway.
I agree.
Cool, man. All right. Sweet. I guess I just skipped over your life. I didn't ask how you're doing. Are you doing well? Huh?
Mind your own
jump
business,
into the news?
Mind your own business.
Okay. To the news we go then. Adrian, are you ready?
Yes.
What are you delaying for?
Yes.
Let's go. You were already late for this recording session.
Hey, I wasn't late. I was sitting at my computer. I was patiently waiting. But you sent the invitation into my junk mail.
Yeah,
That's
I
on
sent
you.
it.
That's on you.
I labeled it. I tagged it when I sent the email. I said, go to junk so that he'll be late by 30 minutes.
It wasn't even 30 minutes. It wasn't even 30 minutes. Don't you dare.
The audience will never know that. It's your word against
fibbing.
mine, isn't it? All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into that quick bite news, Adrian. A few pieces of industry news here.
What do you eat for dinner?
Industry. It's too late for that question.
Quick bite.
Now, Adrian, The Last of Us.
I'd can't alone.
Season 2. There was a new trailer. Did you see it?
I watched it. I witnessed it.
Good. Great.
What do you think?
Like it?
Mm-hmm. I liked it a lot. It's interesting. I felt like the first trailer that released made me believe that they were going to follow the second game very closely. Which, to be fair, the first season follows the game quite closely as well. But there's some pretty crazy shit that happens in Last of Us Part 2, not to spoil anything. And it seems like with the second trailer, I don't know if they're trying to trick me, but it seems like they're going to change some things and kind of spread things out a little bit more. So I'm very curious. Again, it's bringing up more questions for me as opposed to answers to questions I had.
I got no such impression from the trailer. I could not tell. There's no way to tell. It's chopped up into a million pieces. How the heck would you know?
By watching it, Simon. By watching it and theorizing.
The trailer doesn't ever tell you the way it's cut, how a show is going to work on a linear or alinear way.
Mm-hmm.
It's very difficult to tell that from a well-built trailer. Sometimes the people who make the trailer aren't even like related to the thing.
It's possible, but I don't know. I feel like typically, a lot of trailers, at least for movies, they'll show like a movie playing out chronologically. But my point is, for me, when I was watching it, it gave me more questions, and I think it is going to change things up a bit. But again, I might be wrong. I thought this was a very spectacular trailer. I think the last two trailers are very good.
Well, they're definitely changing stuff up because that's what Craig Mazin said.
Mm-hmm.
So we know that already.
Yeah,
I guess.
Simon, why are you being so fucking annoying right now? Why are you being annoying right now? You know what I'm trying to say.
Well, you're saying the trailer's telling you that, but we know that from the actual person who's making the show. So we don't need to assume it from the trailer. That's all I'm trying to say.
I am assuming from the trailer,
what I
okay?
got from the trailer,
I don't listen to Craig Mazin. I don't even know the man. I never met him in person. He never told me anything. He could be lying. Okay. He could be fibbing.
Sure.
The trailer is something I seen.
Okay, great. I don't know. The trailer only told me one thing, and to me, this is interesting from my perspective. It looks like they're bringing spores back, and that's interesting because how is that going to happen? Considering they ditched that concept, which was not a part of season 1, which was a part of the game. We talked about this when we talked about season 1 initially.
We did, yes.
And they just removed the spores. That was kind of a way you could get infected by the disease that causes fungi on your face, etc. So that's what's most interesting to me from that trailer. That and hearing the music from Gustavo Santaolalla. He's just so good, and the music is so good. And also, I didn't know this, and I know that it must have been announced before, but Tati Gabrielle is in it, and I just didn't see that casting, which is super neat. She's in the
Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet, which is Naughty Dog's new game. Naughty Dog being the studio that made the Last of Us video game, as well as the Uncharted movie with Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg.
She's in the worst scene in that movie, arguably, at least from my perspective.
Yeah.
But she's in You as well.
She is in You. Me?
Yeah. No,
she's in me. Oh my god, dude.
Oh no, that's not. Anyway, so
I don't know how my fiance is gonna feel about that. Holy moly!
Yeah, and then the other cool thing that came out around the same time was the interview with Alex Garland and Neil Druckmann, the creator of The Last of Us and a director for and showrunner for The Last of Us series, which is pretty cool. Alex Garland is the writer of 28 Days Later, and he's the director of Annihilation and Civil War. Oh, that upcoming movie Warfare. You see the trailer for that? It looks so good. He's directing that, and he's co-directing that, which is interesting. And he's kind of taking like a half role to co-direct it, which is neat.
Yeah. Am I wrong in? I feel like we talked about this. I don't think on air, but I thought he said something about like he wants to take a step back from directing after Civil War. I think he said something like when he finished Men. Did he not say something like that? And we are like, oh, that's too bad.
But it was before, I think when Men was finished was when he took a step back, and then he had the urge again and did it again. That's what that interview, did you watch that interview with Neil Druckmann?
No, not the entire thing. No, I've seen clips out of it.
He talks about it with Neil. And that was, I love that. It's one of the best interviews I've seen in a long time. Because I watched, there was another one, very PlayStation centric. It's Creator on Creator is what it's called. Like, it was a Sony thing. And they did one where there was like 2 game developers doing the Creator on Creator. It was cool. The game director of Asobi, the guys who made Astrobot, and the game director, one of the game directors from like Insomniac, who made like the Spider-Man 2 and various other games like Ratchet and Clank. So that was cool, but this was way more interesting because it kind of merged the industries. And Neil Druckmann hadn't really directed any TV or movies until recently. The coolest thing was, one of the coolest things was Alex Garland was saying that he thought that 28 Days Later is a worse written property than The Last of Us. He likes The Last of Us so much. And he's a big gamer. They were mentioning BioShock and various other games. It's such a good interview in general, just for those things. It's really great. And like it's cool because Neil Druckmann also talked about how he learned how to direct. He took a directing course before he directed the game, The Last of Us. They were looking for a director for The Last of Us, and they couldn't really find one that made sense. And then he's like, well, what if I do it? And he took like a directing course to learn how to direct. And it turned out that the directing course was more like almost like an acting course where you like kind of learn how the acting process. And so he could relate to the collaborative aspect of making a film or movie or whatever. A film or movie, that's the same thing. A film or TV show. So I don't know. It's just that the interview is really neat because they're 2 different disciplines and they admire each other so much. And they both talked about how they influenced each other in their own, in their journey going forward, which is just so awesome. And that Neil was obviously influenced by 28 Days Later. And Alex Garland was saying he was influenced for The Last of Us for 28 years later.
Yeah, it's like a full circle thing. It's awesome.
Which comes out this year. So I don't know. That interview, I was like kind of blown away by it. I was like, well, this is cool. Is it going to be any good? I saw a headline somewhere on IGN or something that was like, they ripped one line out of it. And I was like, all right, it was about The Last of Us. What was it about?
Oh, it was the part 2 where Neil Druckmann's talking about how like a lot of people hated The Last of Us Part 2, and then Alex Garland literally says like, "Who gives a shit?" Like
that was amazing. How good was that? It's exactly
that was
right.
Awesome. Yeah,
yeah, and then Neil said, "Yeah, I agree," which I'm like, thank God, because we're worried about you and I about Intergalactic. There's a backlash aspect of it, but I also worry about how they could be influenced to maybe change it. I don't think they would, but you never know with corporate kind of companies. Usually like corporate companies, it's kind of the same thing, but a big company like Sony might meddle. They don't seem to meddle in things like that when like there's backlash, unlike Star Wars as an example, like Disney like going in and like making Rise of Skywalker literally a bad movie because they were scared of what the fans thought about Jedi, what's it called? The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
So they fundamentally changed Star Wars' trajectory. Anyway, so I thought that was really cool. And it's really exciting to see where the...
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm very excited for, both Last of Us Season 2 and 28 years later. And it's going to be cool to actually watch 28 years later and, pick the things that very clearly inspired Alex Garland to include in that movie. So I'm very excited. Yeah. It reminds me of Fede Alvarez, like him. I want to see this like creator on creator thing. Him sit down with Neil Druckmann as well, because like I think I mentioned this on the show and to you directly about how he took a lot of inspiration from The Last of Us when creating Alien Romulus as an example, right. And so I really, it is cool to see like these 2 huge creators again in different fields technically show so much respect for one another and love for the products that they've produced. I'm excited, man. I'm excited.
Yeah,
it's coming up, dude. It's coming up. Both those.
I got distracted. I'm so sorry. The thing I was saying before, we were talking about Alex Garland quitting directing. He said no, he's not quitting directing. I think something like that, or they were talking about it, but they didn't quite get an answer out of him. But the thing that they said was Neil was like, how do you quit this? Because you just have this urge to do it. Like you want to keep perfecting it and you want to keep doing it. It's not something we're choosing to do. It's kind of thrust upon us, like because our psyche won't let us escape it.
Mm-hmm.
And Garland was like something along the lines of, "This is exactly right." Like I just get the urge to do it again, and then it just there's an idea, and there's like hundreds of ideas they're writing. They each like write multiple notebooks of things that they come back to or never even come back to, which is so neat. Man, it's almost like an affliction is the way they described it. I thought that was really cool, but that might be why he never quit. He maybe wanted to. I find the Quentin Tarantino thing of 10 movies ridiculous. Like that he's going to do one last movie because it's held him back. Clearly the last movie he made was in 2019. Like, don't put that pressure on yourself. Like, don't you like doing this? Isn't that the part of it? Isn't that why you're doing it? Because you also, some part of you enjoys it. You can't top, we said this before, but I feel like you're not, some of the works you're never going to top for some people, and some people you're never going to top other things. I think Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is his best work, but I'm sure lots of people think it's Pulp Fiction. You know what I mean? So I feel like it's difficult to...
Or Kill Bill even. And Quentin Tarantino has done like a lot of backpedaling because he also says like Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2 is one movie technically. And I can see him backpedal on, oh my God, what's that? We both really liked it. His Western movie. It was the one 2 movies ago?
Like Django Unchained?
No. The one after Django.
Oh, We're Stuck in a House in the Snow?
Yeah, that one. I like that movie a lot.
I do too. What's it called?
God, that's true. Google it, dude.
There was do you know that they're making a show out of that we never got in Canada? They were gonna make it like a long cut. That was like a TV show almost.
Yeah, they released it on Netflix. I don't know if they did it in Canada.
Did we get it? I thought we didn't get it in Canada.
Hateful Eight. Yeah, Hateful Eight. That's what it was. And then he made it into a miniseries through Netflix. I don't know if we got it here or not.
I would watch it. I never saw it come up in my feed, and then I never.
You just use like a VPN, worst case. States.
It doesn't always work, the VPN. I'm tired of this. Just give it to me. Goodness gracious. Just give me the freaking thing. I want to play it. Yeah.
Give it to me.
Adrian's raising his fist in the air. He thinks we're on video and he looks angry.
Give it to me. I want
pretending to be me, I assume. Anyway, the next piece of news, speaking of video games, the God of War TV series at Amazon Prime Video is going ahead with showrunner Ronald D. Moore of For All Mankind and Battlestar Galactica and Outlander. He's a pretty prolific dude. That's a pretty cool thing, because that's not who it was before. It was supposed to be Rafi Judkins of The Wheel of Time.
I remember that, which I don't know. I never watched that show. I don't know if it does well, but I know you watch For All Mankind, and you really like that show, correct?
It's excellent. And Battlestar Galactica was excellent until the very end. The very last episode was bad, but everything else about it was excellent. And For All Mankind is amazing. I very much recommend it to people, not necessarily you, but like generally, like genuinely, it is so good. It's fantastic. Apple TV Plus, such a hot streak. In my opinion, they just have such good production values. We've said this before. But For All Mankind is excellent. I want more people to watch it, because the more people watch it, theoretically, Apple does better with their amazing shows, and For All Mankind continues. But Ronald D. Moore is an interesting one, because it's just strange that happened, and he got greenlit for 2 seasons though, like right away.
Yeah,
it's like, how did that happen? Like you didn't even do one yet. Like you didn't make anything yet. How far in the process are they even? And then of course the headline that blew up.
Yes,
which
I know exactly what you're going to bring up,
and I'll let you jump in. But you can say it if you want to.
Yeah, where essentially it came out that he was trying to play God of War, but he couldn't beat it. Like he couldn't play it. He doesn't know how to use
couldn't play it at all.
Games.
He just gave up. He didn't play it.
And obviously people were like, "Oh, how is he going to make a show about something that he's never played?" And I understand that to a certain extent, but there is some history about Ronald D. Moore. He actually has a very close relationship. So Santa Monica Studio is the video game studio owned by PlayStation that created the God of War series. And prior to this new God of War that came out in 2018, which is kind of a soft reboot of God of War, Sony Santa Monica, the studio, they were making a sci-fi game. And Ronald D. Moore actually had a really close relationship with Santa Monica and was helping them write that game that eventually got canned. So my assumption is, and I mean, if you just use some critical thinking, you can assume that Ronald D. Moore obviously has a good relationship with the people at Santa Monica, probably is working closely with them to create this show, and probably just knows the Coles notes of what happened, maybe watched a playthrough. Like, you can still watch the game unfold and be able to translate that.
So before we started recording, I just looked up all over the internet. I'm like, or I tried to look up as much as possible. Like, did he say he's not watching a playthrough? He doesn't know the story? Because people are upset about it. And I'm like, what's the problem? Like, the movies, the show, the game, the new games, like 2018 God of War, like the soft reboot and beyond, are very cinematic. They're shot in one shot. The one thing I would want in the TV show that they're not going to do, but it would be so awesome if it was a oneer the whole time. How awesome would that be? If it was in one shot, like the games, like the 2018 game and God of War Ragnarok, that would be so incredible, but so probably high budget that I'm not sure that they would try to do that. So there's tricks of the trade to try to connect shots to make it look like a oneer when it isn't.
Yeah. What movie was that? 1917?
1917.
Made it
but
seem
Birdman
like it was
won
one
Best
shot.
Picture and did the same. But Birdman also apparently didn't. I think they used some tricks, but 1917.
Oh, of course. And I don't know if you've heard about it. This show, it's called Adolescence. It just came out on Netflix. I haven't watched it yet. But a lot of things have been going around about it, that it's really good. And apparently they shot, I don't know if it's all episodes or some of the episodes in one take. Now,
really?
Yeah. Oh. So a little like that, obviously very different. It's about like a 13-year-old boy that murders his classmate. So it's like, it's not God of War. It's not as fantastical. It's probably a little bit easier to shoot than what they're going to do with God of War, but it's not like it's not being done. So it would be amazing if they could do something like that. But yeah, I do agree with you. I doubt they would. They would, but if they do, man, that'd be sick. That'd be sick as hell.
It'd be so cool. It'd be cool. I don't know if Ronald D. Moore has done anything like that as much, but he's not the director typically, I don't think. But yeah, it's cool. It's interesting. But yeah, this outrage about him not playing games is absurd. I thought that it's like, why does there always have to be people upset about everything? He's right. He's using the story, guys. Like, it's not even like, why are you upset about this? Yeah. And then there's people who write about people being upset about it, and it's just like goes in a circle. It's just like it just keeps going. It's just like, okay. I was like looking up, like,
Spooky
maybe
circle.
He doesn't have interest in it at all. Maybe he doesn't even know the story, but there's no evidence of that at all. He just said it on Katie Sackhoff's podcast. Katie Sackhoff was in Mandalorian, but she's also in Battlestar Galactica. That's why Ronald D. Moore would be on the podcast, I guess. And so they were talking about it, and he's like, I can't play it. I can't get used to the controls. The last games I played were arcade games. I don't know why. He's from South Texas, but anyway. Yeah, it's cool.
But there's similar sort of things going around about the Harry Potter TV series. I'm not sure if you heard, where one of the writers apparently hasn't read the books or watched the movies, which is, I guess, it's a little bit more like concerning. But I mean, it's a team of writers writing the show.
How did they get the job? That one's different. You need to know the source material.
For that, though. Like, my argument for that, though, is Tony Gilroy. Like, he doesn't have a love of Star Wars.
That's okay. That's not the same thing at all.
And he made arguably the best piece of Star Wars content in Andor.
Yeah, but he understands the universe because he's told the parts that he needs to know. You're writing the unless Harry Potter the series is not following the plot of Harry Potter the books, which it isn't, because they're casting Dumbledore. It's John Lithgow. So there's no way it's like, if you're doing something offshoot, like, oh, let's do like after Harry Potter, like after book 7, that's different. You don't need to know it. You just need to know the world. But if you are writing literally the show, it's based on a book. Mm-hmm. I don't know what you're doing. No, don't watch the movies. That actually is great. This person didn't watch the movies. That's awesome. But who is this person? I want to look this up.
Just type in Harry Potter writer. Didn't
read the book.
Didn't read.
Yeah, you're right, though. It is a team of writers, but it's like, but then you would always want, all of your writers should probably have read the book, like the first book, right? You need to just catch up. The book's not long. It's a children's book. Just read it. What are you doing? What did they say the reasoning was?
Of that guy?
Yeah.
I don't think there was a reasoning. I think it just came out.
All right.
So
I gotta look that up. We can talk about it next week, maybe.
yeah,
I'm sure we got lots of time before that show comes out. That's crazy. That it's crazy to think that they're doing this. I'm wondering how much it's going to be different because those movies are pretty beloved. It's not like they failed on those movies.
I
Like
really like those movies.
It's like you think about like David Lynch made the Dune movies or Dune movie, I guess, and it was pretty good, but it was pretty like divisive in a large way. I feel like people thought that it wasn't really done the way that they would have wanted it to be, and so like this is different though. Like when it's like so when Denis Villeneuve comes along and he makes this masterpiece, now it will be harder to make the Dune movie again. I think. Yeah. Potentially, because you kind of have to do something either drastically different from Denis Villeneuve and David Lynch, and you also have to theoretically make it better in some aspects. And it's like, how do you do that? I feel like it was done fairly well. Like it'd be difficult. So like, yeah, it is a show though, so they got more time to flesh out the story, which is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can add a lot to it. I never really read the books, but I do love those movies. Whatever the whole J.K. Rowling thing. I understand that's like controversial online, but at the end of the day, like I'm not really focusing on her. I'm focusing on the property that she created. And yeah, I'm excited to see what they can do with that show. They got some really like talented people attached to that show as well. So it gets me a little excited. So yeah, I'm curious about that. But anyways, I digress.
It's pretty sweet. All right. Last piece of quick bite news, Adrian. Apple has been losing $1 billion a year on Apple TV Plus.
It's crazy. Yeah.
To make their streaming content, it's cost them like they've lost that money. Like they did not make it back in terms of what they make it, I guess, in subscription costs. They lose $1 billion a year. It's crazy to think like Apple's crazy though. Like they're so huge and they make so many billions of dollars in profit a year. I think it was like close to $100 billion of profit a year. So it's like that's like a drop in the bucket. This is weird to say this is $1 billion. But yeah.
I mean, it's that sort of stuff it's always worrisome, but I feel like so many businesses run at a loss. Like Netflix ran at a loss for a long period of time. Amazon famously ran at a loss for a long period of time. So, it is one thing to point out. I don't hope that, like, I hope that they don't get gun shy, because from all accounts, I mean, Severance is phenomenal. I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about that later. And again, like you mentioned, like their production values in their TV shows are great. And the new Seth Rogen show that's coming out, I think reviewers are loving it. I think it's like 100% right now on Rotten Tomatoes, and that's coming out in the coming weeks. I don't know exactly when. I got to double check.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think I've always thought of it like, I know this is a big headline too on the internet, and I guess I'm making it more of a headline. Although who's listening to our show? To be fair, but like to be fair about it, like if you look at the headline, it's kind of a clickbait article in a way, because I don't think that's why Apple TV Plus exists. Apple TV Plus exists to drum up more of their Apple One subscriptions theoretically, but it also is there to drum up more of their user base, because they have all of these things that are working together inside the walled garden ecosystem. That's the Apple way. You get multiple devices and they all work together. They all have Apple TV Plus on them. They all have the Up Next feature. They all sync, except for Netflix, of course, with the other streaming services. They all sync inside the Apple TV Plus app. There was a Verge article. We didn't talk about this because it went away right away. I don't think we talked about it, but there was a Verge article that talked about how Netflix was integrated like by accident into the Apple TV Plus app for like a day, and then it got removed or something like that. There was like a bug.
Oh,
and I was like, that was like my dream come true. I'm like, this is awesome, because Netflix throws me off. It's funny, when I had subscribed to Netflix before, I used to like skip Netflix content. I used to just not watch it. I forgot that it was on there, and I would buy it on the Apple TV Plus instead, because I couldn't find it on Netflix, because it didn't feed into the Apple TV app, where the Apple TV app will tell you what is playing. If you type it into the search bar, whatever you're looking to watch, whatever movie you haven't seen. Like if you type in The Gentleman as an example. The Gentleman, I believe, is on Netflix. There's also the TV show, The Gentleman, from Netflix. But that's a movie that I wanted to watch, and I was looking it up, and I'm like, I can't find it. It's not anywhere. I have to rent it. But I'm like, oh yeah, it's on Netflix, I think. I have to just look on Netflix separately. But how does this not help you if you're Netflix? I guess there must be giving them a small cut. I don't think so. Because why would any of the other ones buy in? Like, I'm pretty sure all the other ones buy in. Like Max in the States, Crave definitely does here.
Yeah, Amazon Prime does, Paramount Plus does.
Yeah, Amazon Prime, yeah. Yeah, it's really silly, but yeah, I think that's the reason. The walled garden is what they try to get people in on their inside their ecosystem, and this is just another ecosystem piece, just like Apple Music. But I think Apple Music is profitable, so it's a bit different. But they're trying to get more profitable, though. They said they're cutting their budgets, like, which is interesting. And again, we will get into it with Severance, because Severance cost $200 million to make the second season or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is crazy. Anyway, but yeah, that's cool. But I think we should just segue right into our Severance review. We watched Severance season 2 all the way through now. We both watched the finale recently. I don't know when you watched it, maybe day one.
Day one.
I just watched it moments ago before recording this, so it's fresh in my mind. I feel like we should just jump into it from here, because I feel like that's a good segue with Apple TV Plus.
Yeah, definitely, man.
You want to do it?
I would love to do it.
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
All right. Then we're segueing away from our quick bite news into our what we've been watching segment into Severance season 2. We are not going to spoil Severance season 2, just like any other review on our main numbered podcasts series. But this will also be a closer look. This part of this episode, and we'll get into the spoilers that won't be in episode 106, but will be in a separate video off to the side, and a closer look episode off to the side. Severance season 2, I guess we'll just talk about it in a very broad strokes way. We don't want to spoil it. It's a lot of complex detail, and that's why it's really good to do a spoiler cast type review of it, because there's so much we could talk about and theorize about, and where the seasons are going to go from here, which is so interesting and definitely worth this discussion. But I'll just throw it to you. What did you think of Severance season 2? We've been raving about it pretty much every week.
Yes.
Like week to week, but we've just been talking about it in broad strokes. So
yeah, I loved it. I thought this was a remarkable season of television, picks right up where the first season ends. And I had the luxury of watching Severance season 1 like a month before season 2 came. I never watched it upon original release. I watched, I think, the first 2 or 3 episodes, and for whatever reason, I just didn't keep up with it. And then I went back to it with my fiance, watched the first season, and then again, got super excited for season 2, watched season 2 week to week. And yeah, this show is remarkable, man. I think from the acting to the production value to the cinematography, to the directing, to the writing, everything about it is genuinely remarkable. And I think what stands out the most is how, I think I talked about this a few episodes back, but how a lot of shows, Lost is, I think, a prime example of this, where you start watching it and you just get mystery after mystery after mystery thrown at you with nothing getting solved as the show is kind of unfolding. With Severance, it continues to throw more and more mysteries at you, but they're not worried about, or they're not shying away from giving you answers to those mysteries that were given to you maybe 3-4 episodes ago or from the season prior, while continuing to kind of roll and give you like this cycle, like this, I don't want to say mystery box, because I think J.J. Abrams always uses the mystery box. Make a mystery, you don't even know what the fuck's in there. And you can go from there. But this feels like it's kind of planned in a weird way, because everything that I wanted answers to, there's still a bunch of questions to be answered at the end of this season. But a lot that was given to us or shown to us in the first season or in the first half of this season were answered and provided extra context to it. And I loved it, man. That's kind of my high level thoughts on it. What do you think about the season as a whole? Is there anything that you disliked about it? What do you love about it?
I will say, like, it's interesting on like a viewership perspective. This is Apple TV Plus's #1 show ever, which is interesting. Like, so far, even beating out Ted Lasso, from my understanding. I read something like, I'm reading here, Severance logged an impressive 5. This is from Deadline, like the publication Deadline. Severance logged impressive 589 million minutes viewed in the US over all existing episodes, which is crazy. That was as of February 20. As of February 19th though. So there was still a ways to go. But it's just crazy. Like, it's cool that that's happening, because it's their most expensive show ever. Severance was just renewed as well for season 3. which is huge as well, which is cool. Here's what I'll say about season 2. I don't think it was as tight as season 1. The budget was higher, the production values were higher, the cinematography, they took bigger risks. Like specifically, like the director of photography, her name is Jessica Lee Gagne, who actually she directed an episode.
Yeah, it was episode 7. Chikai Bardo, I believe, is the name of the episode. I might be pronouncing that wrong.
It makes sense that she directed that one too, because it's the cinematography takes a twist, takes a bit of a turn in the way that it's shot. It's really cool, and so she did a great job there. I think the cinematography makes bolder choices. I can see where some of their budget went this season, because they shot in some interesting places too. Surprisingly, they did some great stuff. The cinematography, even from the first season, or even the way it's shot, and the winter setting of Severance is really excellent. I just love that. There's something about it. There's almost it's a cozy feeling that I can't explain. I don't know what it is. It's really cool. It's like they're always cozy. In like this. You don't think so? It's like that idea of like winter. Winter has this cozy feel for me in general. Living in Canada, I just get that feeling. I don't like the cold typically, but the snow always covering the various areas. There's this idea of like these plowed parking lots as well. That shot is always like really interesting to me with the drone shot of the parking lot of Lumen as an example, like the big corporation in the show. For those who don't know, I mean, how do you not know by this point? I feel like just because Severance is so renowned at this point, but it's definitely worth mentioning. Severance is about people who go to an office space, and their mind is basically severed with a little chip that goes inside, where you live your life, and your life memories and your work memories are separated, and you cannot remember from either side. And the coolest thing about the show, I feel like, and you kind of alluded to it a little bit, is they ask a lot of questions and they try to answer them of the actual, but you mentioned they're asking questions and answering them like Lost maybe didn't, and that they stretched it out for Lost. My thing is that they ask a lot of what if scenarios about what if that could happen. What if you could not remember your work, so you could truly kind of get home and relax because you're not thinking about work. There's no way you're going to get a phone call from work theoretically, because you actually that's not necessarily true actually with this show, actually in some way, because you have to show up to work. But regardless of that, that aspect is interesting, because they ask like, what if this could happen? What if you were truly separated? Would you potentially love somebody at work? What would happen if you don't show up to work? What if there's so many elements there that are really interesting? What if, do you wonder about the outside world? What could happen if you just you wouldn't even know on the outside? Would you wonder what was on the inside? And what would be the stigma of people who thought of you doing this procedure in the first place? That there's so many questions.
What is the ethics behind all of this? Like
the ethics, for sure. That's a good question. Why would a company really want to do it? What is the ulterior motive? Like, are they doing it because they're trying to do it for a good reason? It seems like most companies, typically in the world, corporations, don't necessarily do things that are outside of just doing it for the bottom line. So is that something that they would be doing ethically and treating their employees with respect? That's kind of the question. What happens on the inside and what happens on the outside for the innies and the outies, as an example. So I feel like they did a great job with that. And honestly, they also philosophically asked the question of, who are we as human beings in a way? On a philosophical standpoint, aren't we just our memories? And that's what's so scary about, as you mentioned before, about what is it called? The Father? It's The Father, right? With Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah, the dementia.
Nominated for Best Picture against Nomadland, and Nomadland won. But that I didn't watch that, because dementia, to me, the scariest of diseases, just because it kind of is who you are, and you forgetting who you are. Who are you then at that point? And so somebody who gets that, it's very scary and very sad, and like it's a big struggle. Actually, a show that dealt with that recently too was the show with Ted Danson. What's that show called?
Inside Man on the Inside.
Man on the Inside. Yeah, right. Yeah. Which I really liked, but it is quite sad because it's dealing with that specific subject matter, which is interesting. But yeah, Aren't We Our Memories is kind of like the other thing that's amazing too. The composer is so good, like it's so on point. Theodore Shapiro, so good, and the acting is so good, and the situations they find themselves in are so good, and the wackiness of the plot in some aspect as well. And I don't know, it's just so good. Adam Scott is basically the lead.
Yes, yeah, really I think. No, I agree completely, and I think. honestly, I think the entire cast is phenomenal. Like they all kind of fall into their roles. And
I think it's good direction too.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, Ben Stiller directed
team.
Multiple episodes. He directed the finale of season 2, which is holy shit, like one of the blew my mind. But I think it's interesting because you mentioned like this show is very wacky and like characters do really weird things, but there's also some of the most human responses to situations that are occurring with some of the characters. And just very real reactions to what is happening, just like literally lines just being like, what the fuck? Like when something wacky is occurring. So it's like some people are in on the joke where other people's are kind of on the outside looking in. And I think it really balances weirdness in a way that is not weird for weird's sake, but intriguing and interesting. And again, adds to the mystery element of the show as well.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry. Yeah, so all the other things that it dives into and asks the question about is how the science work of it too, which is really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah. Whoa. If I lost you, Adrian, where did you go? Hello.
Sorry, Simon. I don't know why my door's not closing. I'm trying to close this door, but it's just not closing.
It's a haunted door.
Yeah, it's haunted, Simon.
You have a ghost. You just moved in. Maybe there was a murder in your house.
Okay, we're good. I apologize about that.
It's all right.
It's throwing me off.
But yeah. Anyway, I do. I love it. The cast is incredible. I think they just did such a good job, and the cast is just like there's a lot of credits behind some of the cast's name, like John Turturro and Patricia Arquette and Christopher Walken are big hitters. Like they've been around for a long time.
Closet.
And they do a great job. So that's excellent. Here's what I'll say, though. This season, less tight. I said this already. I feel like this season, I don't know. I think it feels like they ran out of time. It feels like they ran out of budget. It feels like they don't build the world in the ways that they should have and they feel like there's missing episodes. Like legitimately, I feel like there's like 2 episodes missing. And
interesting.
I don't know. Like specifically episode 9, very confused as to what they were trying to do here. I feel like that was a missed opportunity. The last episode's excellent. I love it. It's one of the best episodes of TV maybe ever made. I will say though, the way it ends as a season, not good. On a TV show, you're making a TV show. You gotta do a little better on how you end a TV show, especially when you seem to be taking 3-year gaps. I don't appreciate that, especially the way it ends. We'll get to it. I don't love it. It feels like they ended it in a place that they maybe they could have been a bit more careful in that they're making a TV show. That's kind of my thought process.
I kind of get where you're coming from because when the show finished, my fiance was a little relieved where it ended, where she's like, I'm glad that it ended here. Because if we watched season 1 when it came out and we would have had to wait 3 years from that ending, it would have been excruciating. She's like, right now I can kind of wait for what's to come.
I actually disagree. I found the first season's ending it was a better cliffhanger, actually. I think this is a worse cliffhanger.
No, that's exactly my point. That's exactly my point. Yeah. Like,
I thought you were saying that I thought you were saying that it would be more excruciating if you had to wait after season 1 versus after season 2. I think it's excruciating to wait after season 2. So that's what you're saying?
Oh, yeah. No, she thinks it would have been excruciating for season 1 because that cliffhanger is so good. And then you're like, oh man, now I got to wait 3 years for the next season. Whereas this one, the cliffhanger is, again, not as good. It finished. Awesome. I really liked it. But it's not as
your perspective of a good cliffhanger. I don't think cliffhangers are good. I don't like cliffhangers. I think cliffhangers shouldn't really. I guess you're right. Like you're hanging from the cliff. How far is the cliff down? Like you're looking down. It's like, whoa, this is a long cliffhanger. I'm really holding on because it's a very big cliff. I guess so. That's a better cliffhanger. But I'm more like cliffhangers are bad for the audience. I don't want it to last forever. This to me is a larger cliffhanger than the first season. I liked the first season because it felt like they were going a place. This one, I'm a little frustrated with where they might go. That's my point.
I think
I don't
I get where
appreciate the
you're
way it
coming
ends
from.
in that aspect, because to
Yeah.
me, I'll get to it honestly when we get to the spoilers, so I don't want to get too detailed on this because it's kind of silly. We're talking in a bit of a circle, but
Yeah.
yeah, anyway.
Fair enough.
But yeah, otherwise though, it's excellent. And again, like there's also even just the way it was shot in the first scene in season 2, just an incredible sequence that's would have been very difficult to shoot. And this long running sequence basically, where Adam Scott kind of looks like Tom Cruise. It's just so good. And also,
didn't he actually say that he was watching Tom Cruise videos to figure out how to run? Yeah.
And you can tell. And honestly, Adam Scott kind of looks a little bit like Tom Cruise. I realized it more and more the more I watched Severance season 2. I don't know if you found the same thing, but he actually vaguely does look like Tom Cruise. Quite a bit, actually, I found.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's cool. And then the intro sequences are just the bomb. They're so good. They're just divine. They're really great chef's kiss intro sequences that
they're creepy. It's unsettling. It's
creepy, sure, yeah. But it's like the intro sequences with Theodore Shapiro's score is just so good. And it's crazy. It's good. It's very imaginative. Like Dan Erickson, who like writes the show, like thank goodness he made it, and he got to make this show, and he found the people to make it. And he found Ben Stiller, who was interested in making it. It's pretty sweet, and yeah, it's well deserved viewership. So I'm hoping they can maybe cut down the budget so it's more sustainable, and then they can continue to do this for as long as they want to, so that we can actually get a conclusion. But yeah, that's it. But is there anything else you wanted to mention on the non-spoiler side of this little review we have here?
I think, yeah, again, I don't want to dive too into it. But yeah, I think, you know, all the actors were standout. We didn't mention Britt Lauer really, or Zach Cherry, as Helly and Dylan respectively. I think they add so much. I haven't seen Britt Lauer in anything, and Zach Cherry, I feel like maybe I passed him in random shows or movies, but
also in You.
Is he also in You? Me?
He's in You. He's also in
Spider-Man, right? He's a Spider-Man guy.
Yeah. Hey, Spider-Man, do a flip.
Yeah, that's that guy. And he's also in Shang-Chi as well. He's on the...
Yeah, I assume he's the same guy in that. But he's in You. He's in the first season quite a bit. He works in the bookstore.
Yeah. So, you know, I kind of passed him. But yeah, it's cool, like, to be introduced to some of these actors. And, you know, there's the introduction of Miss Wong. That character played by Sarah Bach, who I think she was 16 when the show came out. She looks way younger. When the show was being recorded. And she is a standout character as well, and actor. She, you know, again, she's an adult now, but she was 16 when this was being filmed, and she played off all the, you know, very great actors. Didn't take me out of it. I think this was awesome. A phenomenal season of television. I tend to agree with you that it's not as tight as the first season, but I think it adds a lot more plot threads, and we're following a little bit more, you know, on not only kind of the inside workings of it all, but on the outside workings of this whole Severance program, Severed Floor and everything like that. So yeah, I can kind of see where you're coming from there, but I personally, like, I mean, I watch them so close to one another, but like, I guess gun to my head, maybe this is, you know, a recency bias, but I think I like the second season more than the first, and I loved the first season. So
maybe I can change your mind. There's some moments in it that like have like, even like you mentioned Sarah Bach, like it's interesting. Like it's certain like Sarah Bach is a kind of maybe an example of this, but there's certain things that happen in the show that I'm like, why are they happening? And you mentioned that they answer questions, but I don't know that they are answering questions as much as and as reliably as the first season. And I'll say reliably as the answer. Fair because the way they're answering them is not as satisfying. And it reminds me of Lost, actually. And some of the answers that we get. Like do you remember Lost? There was that weird like epilogue to Lost that they kind of answered some questions that they never answered before. Some of the answers we're getting lately they kind of remind me of that. Like there's polar bears in Lost, and they're just like, they're polar bears. This is why they're here. And then explained it in like a weird way in the epilogue. I'm like, what is this? Like, What are you talking about?
I don't remember that honestly at all. I thought
I had to watch it was on like the special features thing on the Lost disc. There were some things that they never quite solved in Lost. Like Polar Bear is a bad example. Whatever the answers were, they gave so many answers for why certain things were this way they were. Because fans were kind of upset at the end because they didn't tie up loose ends. And I'm finding that the loose ends are tying up and not tying up. I'm curious if they're just going to ditch threads because they're starting to get a little bit lazy with it. It felt like the first season was like a very tightly knit scarf, like very tightly. And this one's like the scarf's a little bit like it's dangling a little bit. Like you're looking at the colors on the scarf. There's stripes on it. It's beautiful, right? And then you kind of ignore the fact that it's kind of tattered in some spots. And so that's what I'm getting here. And I just hope that it looks to me like they redid this season. And that's where the budget went. Because how the heck do you spend that much money? Like that's a crazy thing. It's crazy. The show looks awesome. It looks beautiful. There's a lot of cool things that happen. That's not that much money. It's just not. So there's some problem there that happened. And I think there was a rumor that they had rewrote it. That must be why it took 3 years. But they couldn't have been a smooth sailing situation. I think they might have had some problems. But that's, yeah. But yeah, anyway, largely as a whole, though, a great success. Incredible success. I'm just trying to temper I know there's a lot of hype online. Everyone loves this. And I think it could have been better.
And you're a hater.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's no nuanced response. There's only I hate it or I love it so much. But regardless of that, I think it would be cool if season 3 they could tidy it up a bit. And because they've just been renewed and they're renewed right after, or actually just right before the finale, that they can jump in and rewrite it right away. Ben Stiller was on an interview recently, and somebody point blank asked him, "So are we expecting 3 years?" Like as a cheeky question, and he said right away, like, "No, no, I don't think so. That better not be," is what he said. So like that's a kind of a good answer, but I'm kind of like, dude, you should just say it's 1.5 to 2 years as your plan here, so we can move on. It would be awesome if it was a year, like a network show, but. I guess we'll see, won't we? Mm-hmm. But if we're gonna name actors, by the way, I should say Tramell Tillman.
Oh, dude,
so good, dude. And also, I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name, but this guy's freaking awesome.
Olafur Dari Olafsson. Yeah, as Mr. Drummond.
Mr. Drummond, unbelievable. Yeah, so good. It's so good. This it's really good. Those two, like Tramell Tillman, is like. There's something I like the side plots with the characters that know more. I've always thought that was cool. Like the players on the inside and trying to see what their reactions are and see them dealing with their own situations, like Patricia Arquette in the first season and in this season. Patricia Arquette's character in Mrs. Cobell, and it's neat to see like what she deals with too. That's a different type of. She's on the inside, and we're getting the snippets somehow. They're filming snippets so specifically that we don't get the answers all at once. And I think that's really genius writing. There was I think it's episode 8 that does that in a major way. And episode 7, as you mentioned too, does that in a major way. There's a lot of episodes in this that kind of do not what I'm saying where it gives you the answers, but it kind of takes a turn where it gives you an inside scoop of various things.
Yeah, episode 8, Sweet Vitriol is I think the one you're pointing at. And I will...
Don't get too specific, but
I won't get specific, but I will say that I think is the weakest episode of the entire series, but by far, in my personal
opinion. I strongly disagree.
Yeah. I'm curious what your thought is, but yeah, like once that episode finished, like both me and my fiance are like, I don't really like that one that much.
Okay, it's like, interesting. All right,
I like where it ends, but yeah.
All right. So Severance season 2,
it's great.
I think we both agree it's excellent. What are you thinking? What are you thinking? What else did you watch this week that you would like to mention today? We obviously watched another thing together, so we can jump right into that, I guess. And
may as well. Let's do it
and talk about what we watched independently after that. But we both watched, Adrian, in theaters at the Cineplex near us in Guelph, Ontario. We watched Mickey 17, the movie by Bong Joon-ho.
Correct, yeah.
From Parasite fame.
Yeah.
The director of Parasite. And Snowpiercer.
Yeah, it's the 17th movie in the Mickey franchise. You do need to watch Mickey 1 through 16 before watching this one. So I really want to stress that. What did you think of that movie, Simon? Tell me a little bit about your thoughts.
I thought it was super quirky. I thought it was pretty funny. It was more rom-com than I thought it might be. Science fiction rom-com is kind of the genre, which was interesting.
It's a wacky rom-com.
I thought it was really cool. Like Robert Pattinson's acting, I thought was really cool because his voice is somewhat remarkable. I thought the way his voice kind of changed, is changed from what he sounds like in other movies, I guess. The way the dialect coach kind of coached him and the way he, I guess, morphed that voice for Mickey specifically is pretty cool. The premise of this movie, though, for those who haven't seen a trailer, although maybe watch the trailer, but it's a pretty good movie. Mickey 17, Mickey is a guy who's an expendable. He gets sent on missions in which someone would die in. And he's essentially reprinted many times as various Mickeys, various versions of himself, and reprinted with the same memories after that. And he's expendable, so they get him to do dangerous missions on purpose. Science, trying to solve scientific problems. Sounds like a horrible job. Is the basic premise of the trailer itself. I really liked the movie. I thought it was pretty great. It wasn't the best movie I've seen this year, I would say, certainly.
No.
But I did really enjoy it. I thought the acting overall, like from Mark Ruffalo and Toni Collette and Naomi Aki was good too. And it's really cool. I thought, the plot also goes in very interesting directions that I didn't see coming. I didn't expect them to go the directions they went. And there's a lot of like physical comedy and like things that, again, I thought it would be funny, but not this funny. This movie is also based...
it's very like slapstick in a way, actually, in some of its comedic bits.
Yeah, there's like a really funny physical comedy moment that my girlfriend, like my fiance, laughed quite loud in the theater. It was quite it's just a moment that not the whole theater laughed, which I thought was funny. It was like a very physical comedy moment. It was clearly meant to be funny, which was cool. This movie, just as a note, is based on a book by Edward Ashton called Mickey 7. And I think it was wise to call it 17 because it kind of invites more death.
Definitely, yeah.
But my fiance also thought that there was not enough necessarily death. There was not enough action. Like it's not the monkey,
agree. It is not the monkey. No,
the monkey does a lot of.
Like it is very much more focused on the rom-com comedy sci-fi angle versus the like how the monkey was very much focused on like these like it's a comedy as well, but like a dark comedy with a lot of death. And it is I do agree with your fiance there because again the movie's called Mickey 17 and it's essentially like okay cool he died 16 times before we see this. And you don't actually see much of it, which is interesting. You actually pretty much see the same amount of death as you saw in the trailers, funnily enough. That's what the trailers show is all the death scenes, which is weird. Weird way to market this movie. It's not about
that. I think that's the neat thing about because like I don't maybe expectations are the thief of joy is kind of the moral of going into this, I guess, because the trailer kind of made us think one way and the movie zagged, I guess, the other way. So that's kind of fair. I can see why there would be disappointment there, but I don't know. It kind of surprised me in like some good ways. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I thought it was a pretty cool plot line. There's like, it's some pretty surprising stuff. I thought Toni Collette was really funny as well.
She's hilarious.
She loves sauce, dude. She loves sauce.
Yeah. There's like that bit going throughout the movie. It's uncomfortable. It's gross, but yeah, I do really like that. I think Bong Joon-ho knows how to bring in like a very quirky sort of feeling into kind of dire situations. I think he does a really good job. Most notably, like I've watched Snowpiercer, Okja, and Parasite prior to this. Yeah. And I will say this is probably my least favorite of those 4 movies, in my personal opinion. And I think, again, like he knows how to balance that like over the top quirkiness that he found in specifically, I mean, I guess both Okja and in Snowpiercer with kind of the villains. Like he always makes the villains very over the top and kind of comedic. Yeah. And they don't shy away from it in this one. I think Mark Ruffalo's teeth are hilarious. They're very uncomfortable to look at.
Yeah. This is a very satirical look at our world now, though, eh? A little bit like the way governments are acting in certain aspects and being very ridiculous. And like, there's just like a lot of, I feel like in government more so than ever, there's this like idea that potentially the leaders of various countries should not have expertise, that somehow is a bad thing, and that having somebody who doesn't know what they're doing is somehow a better situation, and that like people who have a lot of money can get away with whatever they want in a strange way as well. But I feel like that kind of
Severance.
That yeah, sure. But like, it's in general, like billionaires, you know what I mean? Like you mentioned, I think you mentioned that, if I'm recalling correctly. This has been a long episode so far because we recorded the closer look with Severance at the same time. But I think you started the episode in the first 5 minutes and talking about like how billionaires, something about billionaires anyway. But that's kind of what this is about too. Yeah, I don't know. It was so long ago. It was like 3 hours ago. But yeah, that's kind of part of it. And then the idea, again, I still can't believe that it's the same thing as, I always give this analogy. Like if you were on on a surgical table and like somebody's like doing heart surgery on you, and then just before you get put under with the anesthesia, they're just like, and you're like, you ask them a question like, you've done this a lot, right? And he's like, what, heart surgery? Oh no. And then you go to sleep. Imagine that. It's like, it would be the same thing of like running a country in a way. Like you kind of want somebody who knows about economics, who's dealt with negotiations and diplomatic circumstances, and kind of has expertise in certain things. And I feel like this is a good representation of that in some way. And it's pretty cool how they go that direction.
Yeah.
And here's what I'll say though, before I wrap my thoughts up, I guess, because I don't have that many thoughts. I think it's good and it's worth watching. But I think like the one thing I'll say about this is this movie is rich with potential background information that is never delved into. And I think that actually Mickey 7, if this is largely from Mickey 7, I haven't read the book. I assume it's largely is from Mickey 7, like most of the plot. I think that this really should have been a TV series, actually.
Dude, I agree. I agree completely.
It's funny because Snowpiercer was made into a movie and then it became a TV series. So I think it's possible that this might be a TV series, because I would watch the heck out of it. I think it would be better as a TV series because it felt like they had to do a lot of like exposition. In Mickey is narrating through the movie. I think he even narrates in the trailer. I think that's like the least spoilery thing I've said here.
I think so.
I think he narrates in one of them. But regardless of that, he narrates throughout it. It reminds me of like, it's like a Martin Scorsese movie or something, but it's like a goofier narration. And it's interesting. What's that?
The Goofy movie. It's like, yeah.
That's a bit of a stretch. But yeah, sure. Good movie. Goofy movie. Good movie.
It is.
I don't remember it that well, actually. So is it? Does it stand the test of time?
I just remember the pizza, dude. The pizza.
Oh, yeah? Looks good.
Oh, dude.
Oh yeah, it was stringy. I remember that. Yeah, really
good pizza, man.
Why is that such a good indicator of good pizza? You know, it's like it's such a like cheese, yeah, it's so interesting because it's the most likely thing to kill you, probably on the pizza, choke to death. But regardless of that,
quick aside, actually, you're talking about this. So you ever been to Sam? Again, we're talking about food close to us. This is very inside baseball, but you ever been to Sam's Grill? It's on like Wellington.
Yeah, you recommended it. I went there. It wasn't as good as you made it sound, but yes.
Yeah, So I went there again because they have a buy one get one poutine. So I bought one and got another one.
Yeah, that's a chain. You know that, right? Sam's Grill. It's around.
Yeah, like he started franchising them out. I think there's like 4 stores now.
There's a few of them. I was like shocked. I kept seeing them everywhere.
Yeah, but I think it started in Guelph, and I remember the poutines being really good. Not as good this time around, but they don't really use like traditional cheese curds in their poutine. It's like very stretchy cheese, like to the extent of the Goofy movie sort of cheese. And when I was eating it, I almost did choke on the fucking cheese. When I was eating that, I was like, oh my God. I was like, this is
I'm glad you're here today.
I was by myself in my house too.
Do you ever wonder about that? Like, just like scare yourself a little bit? Like, oh man, I'm alone right now. What if something happened?
When I was a kid, actually, I was eating like smoked bacon, like not cooked, not like your traditional bacon, but like your cold smoked bacon. And I was just eating it in my bedroom. Yeah, and I like chewed it and I swallowed it and it got stuck in my throat. And I literally, as a child, stuck my hand and pulled it out of my throat. And it's like a memory that has stuck with me where it's like I almost fucking choked to death as a child by myself in my bedroom. And
I have a memory.
Like, pulling it.
I have like the near-death experiences as a child. I feel like. Do you have any other near-death like moments that you like think of? Because I have one specifically that I'll never forget. Like,
No.
I was in British Columbia. Like, we were on a vacation, and I was in like we were just wrapping up the trip. It was like the last day of the trip. It was me, my brother, my sister, and my dad, my mom, and we're basically went to this like pool in like I think it was in Vancouver. It could have been Whistler, BC. I'm not sure. One of those in British Columbia, and we went to like this public pool, but the public pool had like a whirlpool. Like it had like in the middle of it, like it had like a whirlpool. It's not like a strong whirlpool, but it was like a fun whirlpool. Like you stand in it and you jump and then it kind of like spins you around and you can kind of feel the bottom, like you could touch the bottom. But I literally almost drowned in this whirlpool. I got pulled under as a child. I was a young kid, and I was getting whirled around like that. And then my brother had to pull me out, and I really didn't feel. I felt like I was gonna die. I distinctly remember like this is it, as I was under the water. That's and then he pulled me out of the water, and my brother saved my life. That's what happened. Amazing. My brother was 10 years older than me, so he could much more capable of saving me.
Well, I'm gonna next time I see your brother, I'm gonna thank him for saving your life.
Oh, that's nice.
And giving me such a great friend.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice. I feel like the way the podcast started, you were kind of mad at me. I was like, this is not going well. This is like Andor all over again. Remember arguing about Andor way back? Oh man, I thought like that was the end of the podcast. But yeah, anyway, cool. Well, I'm glad you're glad I'm alive. I'm glad you didn't choke as a child. And
yeah, me too.
I'm glad you didn't choke like a week ago when you went to Sam's Grill. That would have been bad as well.
Would have been rough, dude.
Yeah.
Cheesy way out.
Yeah. All right. Well, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, Mickey 17.
Mickey 17. Yeah.
Who does die many times in this? Yeah. He dies in more gruesome ways than eating cheese or swimming in a slightly whirly pool.
I disagree. I think dying in a swirly pool and choking on cheese are arguably the two most gruesome ways to die, but I digress.
Okay. I see. All right. Well, what do you think of the movie? Did I even throw it to you yet?
Maybe. I don't remember.
You thought it would be a show. That's what I've got so far. You thought it should be a show.
I thought it was pretty good. I think, like the reason why I think it should be a show as well is I think that like it picks up on a few plot threads and adds some characters that I don't feel like there's a lot of development with them, weirdly enough. And I also feel like the main character, I guess they're a little bit more nuanced. You kind of see different versions of their personality. Oh my God, Simon, you're giving me vertigo. You're moving your webcam like crazy.
For some reason, my phone's about to die because I plugged it in. I don't know if you remember this, but I plugged in the phone earlier on in this episode.
Yeah.
And then when I plugged it in, for some reason, my phone needs to have a freaking, like, I have to open the phone. I have to unlock it before I can plug it in. I don't know why that's important.
But to use like your accessories. Yeah.
Yeah. So I couldn't plug it in. And so wait, what happened to me? Am I around? Hello?
I don't see you.
Me?
No.
Oh no. That's horrible.
I see your blurred ceiling.
Oh, maybe you're going to see me now.
Yeah, you're back. Thank goodness.
Is this such exciting?
I just saw you were not even wearing pants, Simon. I just saw you point the camera down. You got a nice shirt on and then no pants. You're just
shirt cocking.
Naked.
Just shirt cocking.
There's definitely a cock there. Let me tell you.
Wow, thank you. Anyway, go on. You were talking about something. I was brutally interrupting.
Dude, honestly, I don't know. This movie's pretty good. This is like the worst review of Mickey 17. It just went off the rails like 15 times.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. Toni Collette loves sauce. That's what I got out of it.
Yeah.
I will say there's one scene near the end of the movie that I felt was pretty unnecessary. And I'm shocked they left it in. That's the one. That's actually my biggest criticism of the movie. If that makes sense. You probably know what I'm talking about. But I felt like it was just right near the end. Like it was like really near the end. I'm like, did you need that?
Oh,
though?
yeah.
I'm not sure this is relevant to the plot line. And it felt a little strange. So
I agree completely. I know exactly what you're talking about.
That was the only thing that I had as a real criticism of it, because I was just like, I don't understand why this was written here. Like the rest of it kind of felt more cohesive. It's like you could have added more color to the rest of the plot instead of going, maybe added a few more deaths instead of going this direction. Yeah. I think like make it a show. Make it a show. Yeah. How much is Bong Joon-ho? Is he even involved in Snowpiercer the series? Or
I don't know. Is he involved in the Parasite TV show that they're making on HBO?
Is there's a Parasite TV show? Why is everything he makes become a TV show? Interesting. Snowpiercer. Oh, Snowpiercer TV show.
So Bong Joon-ho does have he is a part of the Parasite TV show that HBO is doing.
Okay. He is an executive producer on. Oh, so is Scott Derrickson on Snowpiercer.
Interesting.
That's interesting. Wait. Yeah. Oh no, it's based on the movie. Is
Snowpiercer a book?
I thought it was a book. I don't know why I did. So he made up the plot? Huh. That's interesting. Okay, whatever. I'm not sure. I'm not getting a full picture here, but this isn't a great.
Snowpiercer. It's a graphic novel series.
Oh, okay.
From like the 80s.
Oh. It's a pretty cool idea. I may have said this before, but I really like things that are based in hotels and on trains, especially trains. This idea of like service on a train, and you go to like the train bar and you have to go to various cars to kind of do things. Like even like the train in like Harry Potter and like the first little bit. I'm like, oh man, this is something about it. It's like very cozy. That's cozy for sure. As much as you don't maybe think that outdoor in the cold in the winter is cozy, as you kind of denied earlier when I said that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like that. There's that aspect of it, and that's a really cool concept of like the closer to the like the front of the train, the more powerful the cars are, and the more rich the people are. That's such a neat idea. Did you ever watch the show at all?
No, okay. I like the movie, but yeah, I never watched the show.
Yeah,
I don't even know what it aired on. It wasn't it on like TLN or some shit like that.
TNT.
I don't even know what that is.
Is TLN a thing?
I don't know.
I just said OLN. Is OLN a thing? Wait, OLN.
OLN is a thing. Wasn't that where they aired Survivor Man?
Is it? I know it's TNT though, for sure, for Snowpiercer. Survivor Man. Why are you laughing at that? Okay.
I love Survivor Man.
Oh, okay. Good. Just start cracking up. I don't know what you're doing. But yeah, are you done looking stuff up? Can we move on? Are we done with Mickey 17? Is that it?
I guess so. Pretty good. Like worth watching.
Okay.
I wish it was better, I guess. But at the same time, like I feel like you could only make it better by extending it. Stephen Yeun was great. I don't know if we mentioned that. He's really good in it. He's funny.
Oh yeah, he's great too. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah. No, that's cool.
Yeah. Good time. Fun, wacky rom-com.
And if you like sauce, so does Toni Collette. You know?
Yeah.
Toni Collette and you love sauce.
Real dream horse Toni Collette.
Real dream horse. What is that joke from? Is that our joke?
That is our joke. When we talked about the movie Dream Horse or something.
Right.
It was starring Toni Collette. And then I said, yeah, she plays the horse.
She plays the horse. Toni Collette is a great actor.
She's
great in everything. I feel like she elevates everything she's in. I feel like. And she elevated this movie, I think. Like in some way. I think like she kind of stole some of the scenes. She is like the villains in this are really frustrating to watch. That's what's part of like the charm of the movie in a way. But again, it maybe is just frustrating. It's frustrating to watch just because of the relatability to our world too. But for me, yeah, it's cool. It's great. All right, man. Cool, man. Okay.
Yeah. Worth watching. This was an awful review of Mickey 17. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think.
What did you review it? Like, what's your score if you were gonna review it out of 5?
I guess 3.5 maybe 3.5, 3.5.
I'm pretty sure I rated it on Letterboxd as a 4 out of 5.
Oh, okay. So you're a little higher on it than I was. So
yeah, I guess so.
3.5. I think it's fair.
Okay. Cool.
We didn't talk about Severance season 2. What you rate that?
I know it's too late now. We can't. We can't splice this into the episodes. So that's it. It doesn't have a score.
It doesn't. It's never going to be on our hit website, Rotten Potatoes.
Yeah, that's too bad.
Make you 17.
It's interesting. It's a movie, so maybe it's a TV show,
Fresh
so maybe
potato.
we don't review the TV shows. And we should have done it. Season 2 of Severance. I didn't really think of a score though. Letterboxd was supposed to have TV shows, but it never got them. And then they kind of was like, it's coming. Because they got purchased. Did you see that? They got purchased, and then they said, we're going to bring TV series to this as well. That was like over a year ago, I'm pretty sure. And then it just never happened.
I honestly thought it already had TV shows, but
no, it doesn't. It has limited series because they're like treated almost like a short, like a long form movie or something like that.
Yeah.
So like Werewolf by Night's on there for sure. Well, that is basically a long form thing. That's just a movie.
That is a
movie.
But
yeah, but they have a few limited series on there for sure. But yeah, okay. So yeah, 3.5 plus 4 is 7.5 out of 10. Sorry.
Yeah. 100% on Rotten
out
Potatoes.
of 10.
100% on Rotten Potatoes.
No, it's just
our hit website.
7.5 fresh potatoes out of 10.
Yeah.
Right?
Which is 100. Yeah.
Okay. All right then. What else did you watch this week? What else did you watch, buddy?
So I brought up Everybody's Live with John Mulaney last episode, and how it's like a weekly live show that Netflix is doing with John Mulaney, airing every Wednesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I watched the first couple episodes that are out. It's interesting. It's not like your traditional talk show like Jimmy Kimmel or anything like that. So I don't know if you know the premise of this, but it's essentially John Mulaney is hosting it. He has Richard Kind there as his like number 2.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Yeah. And he sits down with guests in each episode. So usually like, I think like 2 or 3 actors, and then an expert in the singular, I hit my mic, the singular topic.
I heard.
The singular topic of the episode.
Yeah.
So the first episode is literally about lending people money. So he has like a personal finance columnist as one of the guests on the show. And then his guests that are famous people are like, it was Michael Keaton, Joan Baez, who I'm not too familiar with, and then Fred Armisen. And they have like a musical guest. And the musical guest was Cypress Hill for the first episode.
Right.
So it's essentially them all being there, and they're just talking about lending people money for like 57 minutes. Pretty much. And they're just kind of shooting the shit.
He doesn't do a monologue?
Not like he does like a little bit of a monologue. He like talks, he like introduces the show, all of that, but it's nothing crazy. And then they just kind of dive into the topic. But they also have a phone that people can call into that will talk about the topic at hand. And then the second episode was like cruises as an example. And he actually had Ben Stiller on there and Nick Kroll and Quinta Bronson, and then like a cruise industry expert. And then people would call in and talking about their cruise experience. And it's actually like, it's still very funny because John Mulaney's a funny guy, but it's all like, it's very almost like awkward and off the cuff in a lot of ways. And even when he's introducing the second episode, I think he's like, yeah, welcome to Everyone's Live with John. He's like, wait, is that the name of the show? And then Richard Kind's like, no, it's Everybody's Live. And he's like, oh yeah, sorry. He's like, welcome to Everybody's Live with John Mulaney, like things like that. And yeah, it's interesting too, because they don't talk about anything apart from the topic. So Ben Stiller's there, but they don't talk about Severance. They're not bringing up, he's not doing anything. Nick Kroll is there. He's not talking about Big Mouth season 8 or whatever. Quinta Bronson ain't talking about Abbott Elementary. They're just talking about their cruise experience. But the funniest part is the cruises episode. He has those 3 actors come on board. None of them have been on a cruise.
What?
Yeah. John Mulaney hasn't been on a cruise. Only Richard Kind has been on a single cruise, and he hated his experience. And then
why are they there then?
I have no idea why he like lines up the guests like this. But it honestly just makes for funny conversation. And then
what do they even talk about then?
Why they don't want to go on a cruise. And the cruise industry expert is talking about what makes a cruise. And then like there's like a bit where they talk about like oh, was the Titanic a cruise? And then the cruise industry expert is like, no, like Titanic wasn't a cruise. It was there to like serve a purpose from bringing people from point A to point B. And then Ben Stiller just says like, okay, so cruises don't serve a purpose. And it's so wacky and weird, but it is honestly, it was an enjoyable hour to watch. I guess 2 hours because of the both episodes.
You find that it doesn't really follow the format at all of like what a late night show is today.
Yeah, okay. I don't know much about late night shows. Like I don't watch too many of them. You have way more experience, so give an episode a try and let me know. Sure. But yeah, it seems very different. And then again, they have like musical performances, and by God,
that's typical.
I am so sorry, but there's 2 musical guests in the Cruises episode. It was Kim Gordon and Kim Deal. They're from, I guess they're artists, and it was atrocious. I am so sorry to those 2. It was one of the worst musical performances I've seen in my life. And I literally, it started playing and I was like, I kind of want to turn this off. And I was sitting there with my fiance. And I'm like, I wonder how many people turn this off because of how bad this is. And I felt bad.
In what way was it bad? Like you didn't like the genre of music, or they just sounded bad? Like
they sounded bad. They sounded bad. And also the genre of music I didn't really vibe with too much. But it was like funny because it was sounding bad. And like they I don't know, it's like this weird kind of rock music, but not like your traditional like rock and roll. And like I guess one of them, their singing is essentially just talking into the microphone while the music is playing. And then there's like this break where they like the band breaks into like almost like a brass instrument like piece, but they're all off cue, and it sounded like so bad. Like me and my fiance just started geeking the fuck out. It just seems very not as well I guess polished as like your other late night shows, but
maybe it was just the way it was arranged for the actual late night show. Like that part was just messed up because they just were starting it out and they didn't do a great job there.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But it is cool, and it's something I recommend. I quite like it. I'm going to probably keep watching it.
Yeah, it's interesting. When you said it was like a kind of it changed the formula. I was thinking like it would change the formula. Like you said that they didn't talk about their projects, but it's interesting because like Craig Ferguson never did. That was what's so cool about him. He just like at the start of every show, he would rip up the cue cards and throw them over his shoulder. And then he would always ask nonsense questions. And he was just so relaxed. And they would just shoot the shit about nonsense. That was why it was entertaining. That's really the main late night show, like a late show with Craig Ferguson is the main one that I've watched like many episodes in full of. Most of the time for like Kimmel or Colbert, I'll like catch various guests or catch the monologues. And that's kind of where I end it because I'm watching them on YouTube. I don't have TV. But late show, like I would potentially even get TV if it was the only way to watch a full episode because I loved that show so much. I was watching it on YouTube like because people would rip it on YouTube. Like they would just like put it on there like illegally just because there was no other way to watch the whole thing. So like that was the advantage. Like he had literally a dancing 2 people in a horse costume that would come out and dance just before the commercial break.
That's pretty cool.
And he had a gay robot skeleton as his sidekick, not Richard Kind. He had like a strange, very odd robot skeleton, which initially wasn't really voiced, and he would hit a button.
Strange? Didn't you just say it was a gay robot skeleton?
Yeah, it was like a skeleton, and then, like literally that was a homosexual. Skeleton. It's like a robot.
Okay.
That the robot part was the strange part. Adrian, what are you saying?
I don't know. I just wanted to make sure. I just wanted to fix what you were saying.
Which part did you think was strange?
I don't know.
That's what I'm asking. Anyway, he only had like recorded lines on it, so he would hit a button under his desk and it would just say balls. He would just click in, and the skeleton would perk up and say balls, and then he hired a voice actor who could literally do a bang on impression of Morgan Freeman. Anyway, it was very entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Good stuff. Maybe I'll take a look. I do like John Mulaney. So
me as well. I do too. And then what else did I watch, Simon? I started watching The OC. I mentioned this to you after we watched Mickey 17. I'm enjoying it. It's 2003 show. It takes place in Orange County, California.
OC, Orange County. Oh my goodness! Wow.
Stars,
I've seen a few episodes of the OC over the years.
Stars like Ben McKenzie from I guess most recently Gotham. Adam Brody from Nobody Wants This. Misha Barton hasn't really been anything. But yeah, you know, like quite a few actors, and it's just this like it's actually quite hilarious, but it's just very melodramatic. You're following these lives of these rich teenagers, and Ben McKenzie's kind of like a gruff guy. He comes from a poor town, and he gets, you know, ingratiated into the Adam Brody's rich family. But it's interesting watching this sort of show as an adult because, you know, like I watched this sort of stuff when I was younger. You know, One Tree Hill, I used to watch, and you're so invested in the teenagers when you're watching it as a teen or, you know, like preteen, whatever, and you relate to the teenagers more. But now that I'm an adult, I'm watching it, and I don't necessarily relate to the adults like in what they're like and everything that they're going through, but I'm more invested in the adult plot lines versus the teenager plot lines because I'm like, these kids are dumb, like they're stupid. But it's been really fun to watch. I like it. I'm watching it with my fiance. She's really loving it. And then another thing I watched, Invincible's done. Great. Really like that. Won't dive too much into it. Maybe when you watch it, I'm curious what you think about it. And then finally, I rewatched Wet Hot American Summer, actually. The movie. Nice. Love that movie. Showed that to my fiance. Fucking hilarious. It's crazy the cast in Wet Hot American Summer. It came out early 2000s. You got Bradley Cooper, Amy Poehler, Paul Rudd, all these big name actors these days doing the most ridiculous movie back in the early 2000s that's just so over the top and like slapstick comedy. It's fantastic. And then I guess the final thing of note, Simon, I started watching Mythic Quest season 4.
Oh, nice.
I don't really like Mythic Quest anymore.
Whoa, what? Really? Why?
Yeah. It's still good, but I think like Mythic Quest, the first season was really good. I really enjoyed it. The second season was like, had a phenomenal episode of television. I think consistently it was good. And I feel like it kind of
few in that season.
Yeah.
Season 2 had 2 killer episodes, and the rest of the season really was great too. Especially with like the writer. There's the writer episode and the one that was completely not related.
Yeah. Yeah. Like season 2 was stellar of that show. And then I feel like when I watched pardon me, sorry.
It was shocking. There's a third episode. There was that other intermediary episode. Remember that one?
COVID
that was
episode.
That was also amazing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really loved that. And then I feel like it kind of lost its stride in season 3. I wasn't really vibing with it as much for whatever reason. And I took that as like the characters are not all together. It's not as much of an ensemble. You're following like characters' lives outside of them being all together in the one video game studio.
Sure.
And I was hoping that in season 4, because they're essentially all back together, that it would, you know, kind of go back to that season 2 level of quality. And I just don't think it hits it, unfortunately. And I'm like almost annoyed at some of the characters because I feel like the show, it follows like Rob McElhenney's main like character and Charlotte Nickdow, her character. Like they're the 2 main characters, Ian Grimm and Poppy Lee. And they're, you know, one is like a visionary for video games. He comes up with crazy ideas. He has all the money to make these crazy ideas come to life. And Poppy Lee helps him get to that point because she's an amazing programmer. And those 2 characters, in my opinion, have become almost intolerable and annoying to watch when the cast surrounding them is so much more interesting and funny, in my personal opinion. Not like they don't have funny moments, but I feel like whenever they're on screen, it's like my least favorite part. And they're still focusing on those 2 characters and their relationship a little bit too much for my taste. I'll keep watching it, but I'm not loving it really, unfortunately. Yeah.
Okay.
But
okay.
Yeah, that's
you
really
watched Daredevil, right? Is it still good?
Yes.
Yeah, we're gonna watch that week to week. I think we're gonna get to a point because Severance is done, so I'm gonna do like one week to week show. And that will be the show that I'll pull off week to week. I was thinking White Lotus or Daredevil. I'll do Daredevil Born Again. We'll do that. I'm also gonna finish up Silo and then jump into Shogun again because I'm playing Assassin's Creed Shadows. So I thought it would be incredibly topical. But yeah, that's the plan. And I got to finish off Skeleton Crew, which I don't know about this show.
Fair enough.
It's a strange one. I'm not sure. I don't dislike it. I'm like, is this not for me? I don't know. 5 kids, 4 kids, you know? But yeah, we'll see how it goes. The last episode was pretty good from my recollection. But okay, cool. Sweet.
What did you watch?
Is that everything you watched?
Yeah, I think so. I'm probably missing a couple things, but whatever.
One thing I jumped into that I didn't talk about yet was Slow Horses season 3. I love Slow Horses. I cannot stress enough. This show is really, really, really good. You know about Slow Horses?
It's Gary Oldman. I don't know the premise, but I know it's
The
Gary
premise
Oldman.
is basically MI5 agents that do a bad thing or really screw up badly. They get thrown into this crappy place, not in what they call the park for MI5, where they like the agents actually handle real things. They get thrown into like this place called Slough House. And the Slough House is like these, they call them slow horses because they're like shitty. Like if you were like a shitty horse, you'd like pull a carriage or something like that instead of racing. So like they throw them into this like crappy place. And so Gary Oldman runs this, and he's literally one of the most entertaining characters I've ever seen. He's so awesome. And friggin' Gary Oldman has to just come to work and he looks like a homeless man. He's like passing gas during the show, and he's always eating, which is so entertaining. Gary Oldman is such a great actor. This show is hilarious, and it's not really a comedy, but I guess it is. It's a dramedy. I don't know. Like I laugh every episode because Gary Oldman is so entertaining, and he's also like Gary Oldman's character, like Jackson Lamb, is also the man who knows. So he's like Doctor Strange. So he knows what's gonna happen because he's such a good spy. He's just weirdly working for this organization, and you're kind of like wondering why he works at this crappy version of the MI5 when he's so good at what he does. It's very interesting, and like all of these agents gonna come in and go out, and there's like some crazy plot that runs the whole season. So it's not like a procedural. It like literally has a plot that continues. Although it could have been a cop procedural, it doesn't do that. It does a realistic take on it. Like there's some big thing that happens at the beginning or the end of the season, like to start a season, and you watch it play out and see how the slow horses are actually quite good and they're kind of mistreated, or they make even stupider decisions, and they do that all the time. They do these stupid things because these are misfits. It's like a misfits story, like a Guardians of the Galaxy, except for the spies in Britain.
Or the show Misfits. That also takes place in Britain.
No spies, but yes. And like it also stars Jack Loudon. Jack Loudon, I don't remember in many things. I don't know. He's great though. He's awesome. He's like the main character. He plays River Cartwright, and River Cartwright is like he's supposed to be like this great spy because his grandfather. By the way, the cast is really good in this. His grandfather is played by Jonathan Pryce, and he's like this like legendary spy, like, and so they have. He has such high expectations on him, but he messes up right in the beginning, the first like moment of the like first episode, and then he gets thrown into the Slough House, and he's trying to get out of it. He's doing everything he can to get out of it. And Jackson Lamb kind of likes him, but he doesn't like him. Like he doesn't like anybody. Jackson Lamb is such an intriguing character because he plays everyone like to every other character. He treats them like shit. He's just so interesting. Oh man, I love this show so much. It's literally 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. I think for all 3 seasons, 4 seasons. Sorry, it's got 4 seasons. It got nominated last year for an Emmy, which is awesome because I think it completely, truly deserves it. And Gary Oldman deserves it as well because he's just great. He's so good. I recommend this to everyone. I don't know about you. I'm not sure if I'd recommend it to you. I'm not sure. I honestly, even the music is really good in this too. Like the song, the theme song's by Mick Jagger. Like it gets such a catchy like song that he just made for the show. It's excellent. I love it. I love it so much. And it's funny because it's almost like my popcorn show. Like I just jump into it when I'm like, if I'm feeling like, oh, you know what? That could be fun to watch this. It's a full length show. It's not like a comedy in that regard. It's just, I always get entertained. There's always going to be some crazy Jackson Lamb entertaining moment. So I definitely recommend. It might be, I feel like this is a hot take. It might be like Apple TV Plus's best show. I don't know. I'm not sure. Yeah, I see your eyes. You look shocked. Ted Lasso is really good. But this show is consistently great. And it's not doing too much. It's just the writing is so smart all of the time. The writing is so smart. The dialogue is so smart. It's just so fun to watch. The acting is great too. It's really good. There's an element of cool as in every episode. It kind of exudes cool. You always kind of feel like you're watching something really, really neat. I don't know. I recommend it. I feel like I maybe recommend to you For All Mankind before I'd recommend this, which is also excellent. Apple TV Plus, they're not, making the most money, clearly. They're losing $1 billion a year. But I will say that they make excellent TV shows and often movies. And when they miss, they still miss by having the greatest production value of all time. They miss sometimes on the writing, but they still have like a crazy, it still looks great. Like C with Jason Momoa.
What about that invasion show with the aliens?
Oh yeah, you made me like that. Again, I'm not recommending it to you because I don't like that show. So it's hard for me to recommend it to anyone. I watch it though. My fiance, like Dawn, loves monster things for sure. And the alien design in that is so cool. I must say, the problem is they don't use them enough. Like there's like a lack of them. And oh my God, some of the writing in it, it's freaking, it's Simon Kinberg.
Oh.
Right. I forgot about that. We talked about how Simon Kinberg is taking over some element of Star Wars. I should maybe do like a special segment of our podcast where we talk about Star Wars and what the future may look like with Simon Kinberg at the helm of the next trilogy.
God, man, no.
But it's Simon Kinberg, and like you can tell, like if you can tell it's Simon Kinberg. I don't know what's going. Like I almost want you to watch it though. I'm not recommending it, but like I want you to watch it so you can get kind of an opinion like I have about it, because it's fun to watch in some aspects, but some of the characters are so stupid. They're so dumb, and like, it's hard to watch. Some of the kids in it, they're acting in it, are so dumb. They're so dumb. It's bad. That's actually a criticism of Skeleton Crew. The Skeleton Crew is much better written in every way. Skeleton Crew, the kids are the least interesting. Or then you just kind of said that about the OC. The kids in Skeleton Crew are the least interesting part of it. Because they're kids. They're the intelligence of kids. So when I think about a show like Stranger Things, those are kids, but they have the intelligence in some capacity of adults. In Skeleton Crew thus far, there are no stakes because you feel like the kids are just kind of going to be okay. Like from the first moment, like you're never worried about that. In Stranger Things, like people get hurt in that show. And it's kind of interesting because they're kids. It's like it's a very adult show. Stranger Things.
It's a strange thing.
Skeleton Crew feels like it was made for kids because it feels like they don't want to take any risks.
They don't want to kill kids on the show.
Not kill them, but maybe hurt them, or I don't want to spoil anything, so I'm not going to say. But like what happens. Maybe they get hurt, but I don't want to say like kill them. Maybe, but like
interesting.
The idea is
so
like,
you would prefer kids to get hurt?
No, I want the plot to be interesting. The stakes need to be higher. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Jude Law's character, way more interesting. Like Jude Law's in Skeleton Crew, his character's so interesting and fun to watch. The adults are fun to watch because there's what could happen. Like the last episode was interesting because they followed the adults somewhat more than the kids. So it's like, oh, that was actually a fun episode. I think I'm almost near the end. I'm like a couple of episodes near up to the end. But there's just so many moments. I'm just like, all right, let's move on. Let's get to the next thing. Because the part where there's like the Star Wars flavoring, like that you're in the world and you're like walking through like a place that, like an interesting market or something, and they see all these aliens and they show all these shots of these, they're not largely not CG. I think that a lot of it's practical effects. And you're like, oh wow, that's super cool. Like they did all this work on this, and you're like, what planet are they from? You just kind of your mind races. It's like watching A New Hope, and for the first time, you're looking at these people in the cantina, and you're like, oh wow. Where could they be from? What's their backstory? That's kind of the interesting thing. But anyway, I went on a tangent. Slow Horses, excellent, truly excellent. I cannot recommend it enough to many people, but not you today. But anyway, yeah. Good stuff. Adrian, is that it? Is that all you've watched? Are we ready to move on?
Yeah, buddy.
Excellent. Now on to the montage, a sequence of our show in which I briefly present 7 of the bye week's smaller news stories as Adrian delivers a brisk verdict. Number 1. As announced by Apple on social media, the Apple TV Plus Monsterverse TV series Monarch: Legacy of Monsters has wrapped filming on its 2nd season.
Wonderful. I kind of forgot about this show. I'm glad it's coming back.
Number 2. As reported by The Hollywood Reporter, the departed writer William Monahan and Whiplash director Damien Chazelle are making an Evel Knievel biopic with The Revenant actor Leonardo DiCaprio in talks to star.
Interesting.
Number 3. As Deadline reports, Iron Man director Jon Favreau is creating a Oswald the Lucky Rabbit live-action, animated, hybrid TV series for Disney+. Oswald is a Disney character that predates Mickey Mouse and a property that Disney has wanted to revive for a little while.
Interesting as well. We'll see how this plays out. Jon Favreau does good stuff.
Number 4. The Apple TV Plus comedy series Ted Lasso has officially been renewed for a 4th season, with star Jason Sudeikis set to reprise his role as the titular character. But this time, he'll be coaching women's soccer.
Oh my goodness, what a twist. What a twist. I'm actually surprised that he's coming back.
Number 5. According to publication The Hollywood Reporter, District 9 director Neil Blomkamp is writing and directing an adaptation of the 1959 novel Starship Troopers for Sony Pictures, a film that will function as a series reboot of sorts.
I don't really care about this, but this is weird because they're also doing the Helldivers movie, and Helldivers is very clearly inspired by Starship Troopers, so why are you doing both? Interesting take. I don't know. We'll see.
To be fair, from my understanding, the books, which this is going to be based on, is actually more serious in subject matter than the very campy nature of the movie.
Oh, okay. Good to know. Good to know.
Number 6. As reported by publication Deadline, Penguin actor Colin Farrell is in talks to star in the DC Universe's Sergeant Rock film from director Luca Guadagnino and Justin Kuritzkis.
Amazing. He's going to be in 2 different DC timelines at the same timeline.
Number 7. As announced by Disney on social media, a sequel to the animated Pixar film Coco is officially in the works.
Neat. I like that first movie. It's great.
And a bonus number 8. As publication Variety reports, the Newsroom star Jeff Daniels has been cast as actor Jason Segel's character's father in the upcoming 3rd season of the Apple TV Plus comedy Shrinking. The 3rd season began production on March 19th, 2025.
Wonderful. I can't wait for season 3 of Shrinking.
And that concludes the montage. Okay, Adrian. Normally, this next segment would technically be topic of the show according to... Whoa.
Sorry.
Whoa. Are you okay? You doing all right?
No.
What happened? Did you chop your fingers off with the paper cutter? Oh.
Yeah.
You're taking it really well.
Thank you. I'm trying to be professional.
I love how you lifted your finger up as if somebody's going to know that you've done that. This is an audio. It's an audio art form, Adrian, if you can call it art.
But yeah, I try to be professional. I'll deal with my fingers being cut off by a paper cutter whenever we finish it. So don't worry.
There was a recent episode of the Daily Show. Jon Stewart's back for Mondays. And he cut himself badly because he lifted a cup in the air. He lifted like a mug. And he was like, he gets really impassioned when he's doing his monologue. And he literally cracked the coffee cup on the table. And I was like, on the desk, he was talking to the camera. And I'm like, oh, wow, that must have been a fake coffee mug. And he must have rehearsed that. But then, like a minute later, he's got his hand underneath the desk. And I'm like, oh, I think that mug might have been real. Because when he cracked it on the table, he kind of squinted. His eyes were like, kind of looked like he was in a little bit of pain. But I'm like, wow, he's masking that well. That must not hurt as much. Because he looked at his hand for a second, then he put his hand under the table. I'm like, he's probably fine. But then he kept going. And then like 2 minutes later, he lifts his hand up and it's like full of blood. And it's just like, he just kept going. He literally didn't stop. And then he's just like, it looks worse. He's just like, it looks worse than it is. And his blood is like dripping on the desk. And I'm like, wow, this is a wild episode of this show. And then he did like a commercial break and then he had a guest on and his hand was wrapped up. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. Apparently he did that before with John Oliver. He cracked a blender like years ago and he cut his hand and John Oliver was like, oh, stop being a wuss. Like, and then he showed his hand and he's like, no, that's real blood. No, you got to go to the hospital. It was pretty good. Anyway, it's worth watching that one segment. Regardless of that, we're not doing this, the topic of the show this week, and we're not going to do it potentially ever again. It just completely depends. We used to do topic of the show after the montage segment, And I've decided to name this segment Split Focus Special Segment.
Wow, okay.
And then potentially just throw it in depending on the week if I've got something cool to talk about. Because this is a willy-nilly kind of podcast, Adrian. Willy-nilly. Our focus is split over here at Split Focus, a film and TV podcast. I got a full-time job. I'm incredibly tired today. Very tired, man. And so that's not why I've done this, but I just felt like I didn't have that much to do for a topic of the show. So I'm just looking to do it occasionally and sometimes not do it, depending. I do want to do a Star Wars Split Focus special segment, which is basically topic of the show, based on it's the same concept of it, just not doing it every week. I would like to do a Star Wars one because the Simon Kinberg news was quite a thing. We don't have a lot to talk about with Star Wars right now. Like when the Mandalorian and Grogu is coming. Oh yeah. Which we just still don't know when that is. Is that this year or next year?
I thought that was next year. I thought that was confirmed. Doesn't have a release date.
They just can't get anything off the ground in terms of movies. Like they haven't got anything off the ground in many years. The last movie they got off the ground was Solo, right?
Yeah. It's May of next year, apparently.
Next year, okay.
But
yeah, so like they've got a lot going on. Avatar is this year as well. The end of the year.
Is it?
Yeah. No, is it next year? Sorry, 2026.
Avatar Fire and Ash.
Is it this year?
It is December 19th of this year.
Okay, good. I thought it was.
That's crazy, dude.
Yeah, so apparently this one's the longest one.
3 hours and 12 minutes according to Google. Quick Google search.
They said James Cameron said that he's going to try to pack in more character development this time.
Fantastic. I'm so glad that he's packing in character development in the third movie of this franchise. Thank God, dude.
I can't tell if that's sarcasm. I'm assuming it's sarcasm. But how long was the last movie? Wasn't it incredibly long?
Yeah.
I thought it was long. Wasn't it?
It was long. They had that 4-minute whale scene where I went to go to the bathroom.
That's always going to stick out to me that you went to the bathroom. That was the coolest thing about that movie for me was the technical level of it. Like having it run at 60 frames per second. No, was it 120 and 30? No, it was 30 and 60, but it kept changing.
Yeah, which was jarring. I feel like whenever it ran.
That was the problem with it. But on a technical perspective, I'm like, that's so neat to see a movie like that, the shot like that. I thought that was cool. Yeah. But that was really funny. It will always stand out to me that you looked online to see what the spot to go to the bathroom was, and it was the whale scene. And then you literally left when the whale scene began, and you pretty much got there the moment it ended. Mm-hmm. And if you asked me, like, oh, did I miss anything? Because the whale scene was just ending. And I was like, no, literally the whale scene just... Like, there's the whale, and then they showed another shot of the whale, and then it's just like, whale. Yeah, okay. We did it.
Yeah, the last movie was 3 hours and 12 minutes as well. So I'm guessing what it's showing about Avatar Fire and Ash at 3 hours and 12 minutes is wrong on Google.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, we're not doing a topic of the show. You looked like you were sad. Like I didn't tell you that already. I told you that. Didn't I? Did I forget to tell you? Okay.
No.
No, I didn't tell you?
No, you didn't.
I didn't tell you about the topic of the show thing not happening?
Yeah, I'm actually so disappointed, man. I can't believe you just did this. You thrust this upon me. I can't believe it. No, you did tell me. I'm fucking with you.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, we're good. We're good. Okay. You didn't tell me about the name change.
No, because it's not topic of the show if it's not the topic of the show. The topic of the show for this episode was Severance. Like the season 2 review, I think. Yeah. Or Mickey 17, if anything. Or like, I don't know, sauces with Toni Collette.
Toni Collette, yeah.
You know?
Sauces.
Possibly. Cool. But regardless of that, we are moving on to our next segment of the show. The regular segment that I like to call A Look to the Future. Adrian, this is a portion of our podcast where each of us present our picks for the TV series or movies that look most interesting to us that are releasing between the dates of March 25th and April 7th, 2025. As is customary, I will throw it to you first. What is your first pick for that period of time, movie or TV show that you're excited to see?
My first pick, Simon, is the movie. Holy shit, Pesci. My cat just walked into this room. He scared the shit out of me. He just opened the door. He stood up on his hind legs, turned the doorknob, and walked in. So the movie for me is Death of a Unicorn. It's A24's Death of a Unicorn starring Jenna Ortega, Paul Rudd. That's coming out March 28th. Will Poulter's also in it. Looks very good. Looks like a fun horror comedy movie that I am definitely going to want to watch. Do you have any interest in that movie, Simon?
I do. Looks good. Looks good.
Fantastic. Then maybe we can watch it together.
Perhaps so. March 27th. I think you said that already, right?
28th.
Isn't it the 27th?
27th is Thursday, so is it not?
I mean,
it's like technically it will be out on the 27th, but it's the official release is the 28th.
Why do I have it down here as the 27th?
Because you're wrong.
Because I'm wrong.
Yeah.
All right, sure. Whatever you say. All right, my first choice here is a little TV show called The Studio. Adrian, The Studio. Where are you going? Am I not important to you? Huh?
I'm here. I'm just closing.
You wish I drowned in that whirlpool? It's incredibly cruel.
I literally told you that I'm glad that your brother saved your life so we could be a part of each other's lives.
As you wheel away while I'm talking.
They wouldn't have seen that. Now you're building this. Now you're building this vision of people.
You can hear your voices like trailing off. Like, hi.
What are you talking about?
I'm listening. I'm listening while I feed my cat from a distance. You left again. Jesus Christ. What's going on here? What are you doing?
Try to close this door. Okay, it's fine. Don't worry about it. This door isn't shutting properly.
Okay. What are you going to do about that?
Nothing now, because you keep on talking smack, dude.
Thank God. Okay, well, the show that I've chosen here is a premiere of the TV series. Or not the show I've chosen, whatever. The show I've chosen is The Studio. It launches on March 26th on Apple TV+. Probably another big hitter. As you mentioned earlier in this very episode, it is rated as 100%, or at least it was last time I checked. It stars Seth Rogen and Catherine O'Hara, Adrian, and various other actors. It looks crazy star-studded.
Yeah,
it looks pretty
Cranston's
cool.
in it.
Yeah, and it looks like it's. It appears to be a kind of a TV series lampooning the film industry and how it runs, especially on the studio exec level specifically, and how they don't seem to understand what art is. It appears anyway. I guess we'll see.
It's interesting because didn't HBO just have a show that come out that was very similar in premise and it got canceled?
Wasn't it about superhero movies? Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, this is more broad though, I think. They're just getting into just the studio itself. Wait, that was about a studio making superhero movies?
I thought so, yeah.
Just superhero movies? Interesting. Well, Apple is interesting because they kind of don't cancel things as frequently. They kind of hold on for a lot longer. I'm really happy season 3 of Severance was renewed, but I mean that was a no-brainer considering that was their best show ever.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully, man. Do you think Severance is gonna seriously be 3 years? We didn't really talk about that. Could it be another like 2 years?
I'm gonna believe
2 years
in
maybe though.
No.
All right.
No.
Yeah.
2 years. 2 years is fair, actually. Yeah, 2.
Okay.
I'm gonna say 2.
Cool. All right. What's the next one? What's the next thing you're excited for or interested in for the weeks of March 25th to April 7th?
I'm not really interested in it. I feel like the trailer for this doesn't look that great, but it is like a fun little horror movie called The Woman in the Yard. We saw the trailer of this, I think, before Mickey 17. I've seen the trailer a couple times. Doesn't look that great, but hey, man, maybe I'll watch it on a random day if I'm bored. It's about a woman that shows up in a yard.
It's called that, yeah. It's true. What did she say? What did she say in the trailer? That's kind of creepy. The best part of the trailer is that line she says.
Yeah.
I'm coming to dinner or something like that.
It's like I'm a woman in the yard. That's what she says.
Yeah, like the way she says it though is really good. Yeah. I just like that.
We're here.
I'm wearing a strange veil.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I'm sitting on a chair here. Look at me.
All right. The next movie is a highly anticipated movie that everyone's looking forward to, and everyone's looking forward to clowning on. But I have a feeling it's going to be way better than people think it is, but maybe no one's going to watch it anyway. It's the Minecraft movie, Adrian, which comes out April 2nd. That movie, man, Jack Black's in that. Jason Momoa is in that. I really think it's going to be better than anyone thinks it's going to be, but we'll see. Unless it's already got reviews and it's already below 60% of Rotten Tomatoes, in which case I'm a liar. I'm going to look it up right now. But
you don't think that
do you have any interest in that? Because I'm curious about that.
I never played Minecraft really.
Yeah, you did. Remember that one time you played with us? You really loved it.
Yeah, that's why I said really. Like, I never really played it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do remember playing that with, I think it was with you and our friend
Eric.
You did
not have fun.
No.
I will say that. Yeah.
It's just not for me. But I feel like you don't think this movie's going to do well. I feel like Minecraft still has such a huge cultural relevance. And I think a lot of kids are going to be going like flocking.
You know what? Yeah. Like there's like the Snow White movie didn't get reviewed well at all. It's like 47% of Rotten Tomatoes. But I wonder if it will actually sell more tickets because those Disney live action movies always sell well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. To me, it looked good. I don't know what people are complaining about. The funny thing is about the Snow White movie, from what I read, is like on one side, people are saying, "Oh, they changed too much," and on the other side, they're like, "They didn't change enough." It's kind of what I'm getting from the Snow White reviews. Do you find that? Because they always want them to change everything about the movies. Like the Lion King movie was pretty much the Lion King the animated movie, but animated in CG instead.
Yeah,
and then this is kind of the same thing. It looks like the same thing, but they changed aspects of Snow White to make her less of a damsel in distress, which is fair. The movie's called Snow White, and we're in 2025. You know, feminism, but
woke, more like Snow Woke, dude.
Yeah, right.
Or whatever.
Anyway, but yeah, didn't do well. But I'm curious to see what this is in terms of reviews. There are no reviews on Rotten Tomatoes as of this taping.
Yes.
So, okay.
Wonderful. My final thing that I'm going to point out is actually a Netflix animated series called Devil May Cry, based on the video game series of the same name. Yes, I don't have an attachment to Devil May Cry, but the show creator is Adi Shankar, who did the Castlevania series, which I really loved. And I don't care about Castlevania as a gaming franchise. I just really like that show. So this guy has a proven track record with that.
Yeah, he did the Far Cry thing, didn't he? Do that Far Cry spinoff?
The Blood Dragon, I think he did.
Yeah.
He seems like a guy that really loves video games. So, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah,
interesting. We'll see. Indeed.
Yeah, the Far Cry one was Captain Laserhawk, a Blood Dragon remix. That's what it was called.
Was that reviewed well? Did people like that one?
89%. Yeah, on Rotten Tomatoes.
He's killing it. All right, that's cool.
90% popcorn meter.
Netflix has got. They really are dedicated to animation. Netflix is such a strange beast to me. I don't really. The guys of all streaming services, like compare it to Apple TV Plus, like as an just like look at it holistically, and it's kind of strange what they're doing. They're always doing something different. They're always adding more to what they can stream. Whereas Apple's like, we're going to stay in our lane fairly simply. I mean, they tried to get into like football, like European, like soccer. But
football
recently, but it's interesting. Yeah. But they're also not profitable.
For Frito-Lay, yeah.
Yeah, right. I said that I literally said that on a work call, and everyone had a blank face. I talked about our business and what we were doing and how I was like, I'm just wondering how this is profitable for Frito-Lay. I was talking about like a VR headset that we sell. And I was like, there's like a price drop. And so I was like, I just don't see, I'm just trying to understand how this is, profitable for Frito-Lay, if you understand what I'm getting at. And they all looked at me on this call and they're like, what are you talking about? And I was like, oh, maybe they didn't understand that reference.
It's a reference to Game Night, the hit movie starring Jason Bateman and Richard McAdams.
Jason Bateman. Yeah. Jason Bateman. Yeah, that's a great movie. That's really
hilarious. Yeah, I remember wheezing in the theater, like crying, wheezing in the theater.
It's pretty good. I didn't like those guys who made that movie. They made Dungeons and Dragons movie. I really didn't like it as much. I kind of hope. I wish they didn't. I thought they were going to do it where there's people playing Dungeons and Dragons, and then they were pretending to be the. That would have been so cool.
Yeah.
You know, that was like a game night. It was like a game night of Dungeons and Dragons, or at least at the end of the movie, they showed that they were playing Dungeons and Dragons, and like they were just a bunch of nerds sitting at a table, or even better, they had a bunch of nerds, but then they had a bunch of like huge stars. Like they had like Robert Downey Jr. and like, you know what I mean? Like Tom Cruise.
Like do it, like a nice bit.
That would have been so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, they didn't do it.
Nice little gag joke. I like that movie.
It was good, but it's fine.
It was fun.
It was fun. It was fun. I agree. Yeah.
It was fun.
All right. My last pick here is going to be choosing between two here.
Spit it out. Spit out both.
You ever watch Suits?
Yeah, I did. I watched the first like 4 seasons.
Oh, you stopped watching it though?
Yeah.
That show's ridiculous though. Like, there's always drama that's way more than it should have been. I feel like being a lawyer is way more boring than that. Regardless of that, Suits LA launched. It's got the dude from Arrow in it.
Stephen Amell.
Stephen Amell. And they brought back recently. They're bringing back the dude from Suit, like the
Harvey,
the regular Harvey is coming back, and they're on March 29th. It's episode 6, and then on April 5th it's episode 7. But people love Suits. That's like, I feel like that show is as popular as it is because of Netflix. Speaking of the strangeness of how like the variation of like the diversity, I guess, of the content on Netflix. But Suits LA, not well reviewed, I must say. It's a 39% on Rotten Tomatoes. The weird thing about it is it's not only a 39% for the tomato meter, it's also a 47% for the popcorn meter. So people are not liking this.
Stephen Amell, I feel like he can't really catch a break.
Because he got shut down with that wrestling show. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, which I think was actually quite well regarded, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, it was reviewed really well. It's called Heel, right?
Yeah.
Heel? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is interesting.
It's very well rated, actually. It's 94% and 95% for tomato and popcorn meter, respectively.
Heels with an S.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you mean you can't catch a break otherwise, though? Like, he's been in pretty popular things before that. Like, his show just ended at Arrow, right? It didn't really get canceled. He actually, he completely came out of that DC universe takeover from James Gunn unscathed, actually, because his show ended before they even took it over.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's really just Heels that he unfortunately got canceled, despite it being very well reviewed. Yeah, wow, that's 94%. Is crazy. Good for him. Cool, man. All right, well, that's it. That's it for this episode. Do you have anything else to add before we wrap this baby up?
I don't think so, man. I think this was a pleasant conversation that we had, you and I.
It was. It was indeed.
And I hope you agree.
I do agree. It's it was delightful. And we'll see the audience in the next 2 weeks because, of course, our episodes launch bi-weekly every 2 weeks on Tuesdays, where we will review various movies and TV shows and talk about the film and TV industry as a whole and just revel in the fandom that is the film and TV landscape. Podcast. Adrian. That's it. So thank you for listening to episode 106 of Split Focus, a film and TV podcast. My name is Simon Eady, and this is Adrian Pinter signing off.
Take care and goodbye. Thank you very much for your time.
Goodbye.